Chapter 25-20. On the square of the Flaming Sun Palace. The crowd was filled with emotions as they watched Song Su, who was predicted to be in the top 10 of the Heaven list, die. Luo Yang, Heaven Immortal, was in his twilight years, and the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix was severely injured. They had expected that the battle for the seal would be extremely intense. However, no one had expected that the battle would be so intense that it could be described as tragic. Even the three predicted to be in the top 10 of the Heaven list had ended up in such a state. This is under the condition that they have the teleportation talisman. If they didn't have the teleportation talisman, I think Luo Yang, Heaven Immortal, and the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix would not have survived. Even if Luo Yang, Heaven Immortal, is not dead, he won't live for long. Many cultivators pointed at the white-haired and senile Luo Yang, Heaven Immortal without any scruples. Luo Yang, Heaven Immortal's old face was gloomy. Before this, he was predicted to be in the top 8 of the Heaven list. When the cultivators around him saw him, they would show respect, and no one dared to talk nonsense. Now he was in his twilight years, and his primordial spirit was exhausted. He might not even be able to defeat a rank 9 Heaven Immortal, let alone being in the Heaven list. With Luo Yang, Heaven Immortal's former status and glorious achievements, there was no need for him to stay here and suffer such humiliation. However, he was unwilling to accept this. He wanted to wait here for the final result. He wanted to know the news of Su Zimo's crushing defeat, and even death, as soon as possible. He believed that Zhong Feiyu could do this. After all, Zhong Feiyu was a reincarnated true immortal who was predicted to be in the top 3 of the Heaven list. He could also team up with Yu Hai and hundreds of Heaven Immortal experts. At this moment, above the square, there was a flash of brilliance and figures appeared one after another. The Duke of Starry Flame dragged his broken body and escaped. His face was pale, and his eyes were filled with fear. It was unknown how much shock he had suffered. The other dozens of cultivators were also covered in wounds and dripping with blood. Xieling quickly went forward and helped the Duke of Starry Flame stabilize his injuries and rebuild his body. The Duke of Starry Flame is out too. As expected, his cultivation is not high. The 2 experts under him who are predicted to be in the Heaven list are much weaker than Zhong Feiyu and the rest. How many dukes are left now? Only Duke Mingjiang, Princess Yuyan, Duke Feng and Duke Yu are left. However, Princess Yuyan has Zhong Feiyu's help and Duke Yu has Yu Hai's help. There seems to be one missing. Another cultivator asked with a frown after making some calculations and finding that the number was wrong. The other person thought for a long time before he suddenly remembered. He curled his lips and said, "There's only Xie Qingqing left. She only brought a dozen people in. It's definitely free." That's right. He has Su Zimo from the academy by his side. He can barely be considered a figure, but I heard that he's only a 6th level celestial immortal. Another person laughed and said, "Everyone, what do you think? The seal-seizing battle this time was so tragic. Song Su, Heavenly Immortal Luo Yang, and Heavenly Phoenix Duke all ended up like this. Is a mere level 6 Heavenly Immortal good enough?" Most of the cultivators were attracted by the situation of Song Su, Celestial Immortal Luo Yang, and the others. They did not notice or predict the changes on the Heaven list. Luo Yang, Celestial Immortal, the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix, the Duke of Starry Flame, and the rest of the people who had just escaped from the battlefield in Shura looked gloomy. What do you know? The Duke of Starry Flame could not hold back and scolded the crowd. Everyone was at a loss for words. Suddenly, there was another flash of light in the sky above the square. Then the Duke of Mingjiang, Duke of Feng, and Duke of Yu appeared in the sky above the square. Not long after, even Princess Yuyan's figure appeared. At the same time, more than 100 heavenly immortals who were covered in flames and black smoke appeared one after another. They cried for help in hoarse and miserable voices. The cultivators under Xieling's command hurried forward to save these heavenly immortals. What's going on? The 4 princesses are all here. The seal-seizing battle should be over, right? Who got the Lingxia seal? Princess Yu Yan. Many cultivators were at a loss as countless questions appeared in their minds. Where were Zhong Feiyu and Yu Hai? Where were the others? Where was the Lingxia seal? Who burned these heavenly immortals to such a state? While everyone was talking, another flash of light appeared in the sky above the square. Yu Hai's figure appeared and fell to the ground with a thud. There was not a single wound on Yu Hai's body. However, when everyone used their divine senses to check, their expressions changed. He was dead. They predicted that Yu Hai of the Mountain and Sea Celestial Sect, who was ranked 7th on the Heaven Leaderboard, was also dead. This what happened inside. Is there a need to ask? Only Zhong Feiyu is left inside. He must have done it. Humph. Princess Yu Yan's face was as cold as ice. She snorted and said, "This has nothing to do with Brother Zhong. Don't talk nonsense." Xieling only took a glance, and could tell that Yu Hai's primordial spirit was severely injured and had died. If it was not Zhong Feiyu, there was only one possibility. Another flash of light appeared in the square. Zhong Feiyu appeared with a pale face and a panicked expression. He had already returned to the Flaming Sun Palace, but he still looked back with lingering fear. When he was sure that he had gotten rid of the dragon scale, he heaved a sigh of relief and calmed down. "Brother Zhong, even you." Princess Yu Yan looked at Zhong Feiyu with a complicated expression. She wanted to say something but stopped. Zhong Feiyu was silent for a while before he said, "Yu Yan, I'm sorry. I couldn't use my full strength in the battle at Shura. But don't worry. I'll show him my true strength in the Heaven List ranking battle." After that, Zhong Feiyu turned around and left. He quickly disappeared in the direction of the Flaming Sun Palace's teleportation array. Princess Yu Yan stomped her feet in anger. What was the use of regaining her face in the Heaven List ranking battle? She had already lost the chance to become the Princess of Wuxia. Luoyang, Heavenly Immortal, had already guessed the outcome. He knew that there was no point in him staying any longer. After Zhong Feiyu left, he also left and prepared to return to the Flying Celestial Sect. The surrounding cultivators were still confused. What did Zhong Feiyu mean? Even he lost? I think so. From the looks of it, he lost to the reincarnated true immortal of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom, Lord Lai Xian. I knew that Lord Lai Xian's strength was above Zhong Feiyu's. But what's the use of Lord Lai Xian? He's not a duke. How can he get the Lingxia seal? We seem to have forgotten about someone. At this moment, another person left the Shura battlefield. Lai Xian appeared. Looking at the black mass of people around him, Lai Xian sighed and said, "The battle for the seal is over." "It's over? Who got the Lingxia seal?" The crowd quickly asked. Lai Xian said, "There's only one duke left in the Shura battlefield. You still don't know who got the Lingxia seal? There's only one duke left. Could it be Xie Qingcheng? How is that possible?" At this moment, a majestic voice came from the sky above the Flaming Sun Palace. "The Lingxia seal has been assigned to someone. The new Duke of Lingxia is Xie Qingcheng." Along with this voice, Xie Qingcheng appeared above the palace with a shining seal in his hand. In an instant, it was as if he was endowed with endless glory. Under the cover of the Lingxia seal, his entire person shone brightly. Under this light, almost no one noticed that not far behind him, there was a handsome green-robed cultivator. Chapter 25-21. Qianquan Academy. On the last day of the seal battle, a large number of academy disciples gathered in the inner yard square. There were close to 100,000 of them. The elders of the academy even allowed the outer disciples to head to the inner sect square to watch the real-time updates of the heaven ranking. Together with the servants of the academy and cultivators from the outside, there were more than 100,000 cultivators gathered here. It was a huge crowd. The reason why there was such a huge commotion this time was mainly because the top inner sect disciple of the academy, Su Zimo, was participating in the seal battle this time. Furthermore, Su Zimo's ranking on the heaven ranking fluctuated greatly. First, he was in the top 10 before disappearing completely. Immediately after, he returned to the heaven ranking and was at the bottom. What was even stranger was that even though there were some changes in the heaven ranking over the past few days, Su Zimo's ranking remained at the bottom of the heaven ranking, without moving at all. No one knew what happened in the Shura battlefield for such a strange situation to occur. Today was the last day of the seal battle. If nothing went wrong, the final result would be revealed on this day. There would also be a final conclusion of the heaven ranking. That was why so many academy disciples gathered here. Apart from Yin Bingying and the rest, Momo and Lu Ping also ran over. There were even some legacy disciples who came to watch out of curiosity on this last day. Yang Ruoxu and Princess Qihong stood side by side while Momo and Lu Ping stood in front of them. Princess Qihong was worried the past few days and did not leave. Princess Qihong murmured, "No matter who the Spirit Dawn seal ends up in, I only hope that senior brother Su and brother Qingqing are fine." "Don't worry," Yang Ruoxu said. "With Zimo around, he should be able to protect Xie Qingqing." Momo ate her peaches leisurely at the side, chewing slowly, as if she was not concerned about the changes in the heaven ranking. "Tao Tao, why aren't you worried at all?" Lu Ping asked. "Senior brother's ranking has dropped to the bottom for more than 20 days, and there hasn't been any changes. Is he all right?" Momo asked casually. Compared to Lu Ping, Momo understood Su Zimo better. At the center of the square, more than 1,000 foreign cultivators had gathered. They had not left, and were waiting for the final result. After more than 20 days, Su Zimo's ranking did not increase at all. This made them feel relieved. The Flying Celestial School's Tianja smiled and said, "I say, fellow Taoist Yen, with so many people from your academy coming over, the commotion is really not small. If Su Zimo were to make a fool of himself, wouldn't you lose all face?" "That's hard to say," Ling Mu of the Dajin Celestial Nation said. "If this Su Zimo dies in the Shura battlefield, we'll have waited for nothing." There were too many academy disciples around, so the cultivators from the other sects did not dare to go overboard with their taunts. Yin Bingying didn't want to argue with them. She just looked at the prediction heaven list without saying a word. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. It was predicted that the heaven leaderboard would change. This change, Yin Bingying couldn't believe her eyes. She closed her eyes and focused again. That's right. Su Zimo's ranking went from the bottom of the prediction heaven list to the 7th place in the prediction heaven list. It was a few places higher than the previous 10th place. "Everyone look." Yin Bingying was a little excited. She pointed at the prediction heaven list and shouted. At this moment, some cultivators also noticed the change in the prediction heaven list. The crowd instantly exploded. Predicted 7th place on the prediction heaven list, 3 places higher than Fang Qingyan. Senior brother Su is too strong. I knew it. Many academy disciples were energized. Yang Ruoxu and Qihong and Fanta looked at each other and heaved a sigh of relief. Tianja, Ling Mu, 100 Flower Fairy, and the other foreign cultivators looked terrible. They couldn't believe it. "I'm sorry to disappoint you." Yen Bingying looked at Tianja and the others and said calmly. Ling Mu laughed dryly and said, "It's nothing. We might have made a mistake again. After all, something like this happened more than 20 days ago." "That's right," 100 Flower Fairy also said. "Let's wait for Su Zimo's evaluation to come out. There has to be a convincing reason to increase his ranking by so much." At this moment, Su Zimo's prediction on the prediction heaven list had some slight changes. In terms of cultivation realm, he went from level 6 to level 7. After waiting for a long time, the rest of the information was still the same. There were no changes. That's it. The foreign disciples were dumbfounded. Tianja raised his eyebrows and said, "Just by increasing his cultivation realm, he went from the bottom of the prediction heaven list to 7th place. This reason is ridiculous." "That's right. This kind of evaluation is not convincing at all." 100 Flower Fairy nodded. "This is the ranking of the true immortals of the Divine Firmament Palace. There must be a reason for it." "That's right. If you're not convinced, go to the Divine Firmament Palace." In fact, many of the Academy disciples were a little scared. After all, Su Zimo's battle record, information, and evaluation were too far away from the other experts in the prediction heaven list. He had no advantage at all. But the Academy disciples refused to back down. Just as everyone was arguing, the prediction heaven list changed again. One person is missing from the top 10. Prediction heaven list number 5, first executioner Song Su. Everyone soon realized. Song Su's ranking did not drop, but completely disappeared from the prediction heaven list. How could this be? Ling Mu from the Dajin Celestial Nation was a little panicked. Logically speaking, there was only one possibility for this to happen. Something serious had happened to Song Su, or he had suffered an irrecoverable injury. Otherwise, he would die and his Tao would vanish. Could it be that something happened to Song Su, who is predicted to be 5th on the prediction heaven list? The only people who can defeat Song Su are probably Zhong Feiyu and Lai Xian. Everyone had yet to recover from the shock of this matter. It was predicted that the top 10 of the heaven leaderboard would have one less person. Everyone look. Another one is missing. It's Luo Yang Celestial, who is predicted to be 8th on the prediction heaven list. Luo Yang Celestial's situation was the same as Song Su's. He had also completely disappeared from the prediction heaven list. Heavens, isn't this seal-seizing battle a little too tragic? The elites in the top 10 have all been defeated, and are predicted to be removed from the prediction heaven list. In the next period of time, a few more cultivators on the prediction heaven list completely disappeared. Countless cultivators were focused on the prediction of the heaven leaderboard, wanting to see the final result. Not long after, Yu Hai from the Mountain and Sea Celestial Sect, who is predicted to be 7th on the prediction heaven list, disappeared from the prediction heaven list. The entire prediction heaven list was in a complete mess. Everyone was discussing in low voices, guessing the various possibilities of the battle in Shura. Another while later, another change happened on the prediction heaven list. This time, no one disappeared. Su Zimo's ranking rose again, and he was predicted to be 3rd on the prediction heaven list, surpassing Zhong Feiyu. Chapter 25-22. After a short moment of silence, a huge commotion broke out in the square of the inner yard. The crowd was in an uproar. This time, not only the cultivators from the outside world, but also the disciples of the academy could not believe it. There must be something wrong with the heaven list. Tianjia and the others were relieved when they saw the ranking. He smiled and said, "The real ranking will be restored soon." Zhong Feiyu was a reincarnated true immortal. Although Su Zimo was strong, he was only a level 7 heaven immortal. How could he defeat Zhong Feiyu? That's right. Lingmu nodded and said, "Master Song Su is the first executioner. Even if he can't defeat Zhong Feiyu, he can still retreat safely. How could something happen to him?" 100 Flower Fairy pointed at Su Zimo's information on the heaven list and sneered. "There are only 2 battles. There are no battles with top heaven immortals. How can people believe such a result? Chi Rainbow Infanta asked softly. Wuxia, what happened? Young Wuxia pondered for a while and said softly, if Zemo can defeat Zhong Feiyu and be ranked third on the heaven list, there is only one possibility. Zhong Feiyu lost to Zemo in the Battle of Shura. Chi Rainbow Infanta was shocked. Zhong Feiyu, a reincarnated true immortal, lost? At this moment, Su Zemo's page on the heaven list changed. Name Su Zemo. Realm, Level 7 Heaven Immortal. Identity, Inner Disciple of Qingkuan Academy, Inheritor of Astral Sect's Secret Skill, Inheritor of Jade Purity, suspected to be the successor of Buddhism. The above information did not change much, but a few paragraphs of information were added to the battle record column. Battle record. Zhong Feiyu Lai Xian, Song Su, Yu Hai, Luo Yang Immortal, and Xie Tian Huang, who were predicted to be in the top 10 of the heaven list, surrounded him in the Battle of Shura. Su Zemo attacked first and fought back. He injured Song Su while being surrounded by 6 people. Zhong Feiyu forced him into the Blood Demon Lake. Seeing this, many cultivators were shocked. Su Zemo was surrounded by 6 top heaven immortals. Not only did he attack first, but he also injured Song Su. How powerful he was. Everyone hurriedly continued reading. Su Zemo didn't die in the Blood Evil Lake. Instead, he broke through to level 7 Celestial Immortal. On the last day of the battle in Shura, he guarded the Nirvana Bridge alone. He fought against 6 Celestial Immortals and several hundred Celestial Immortals. Until the end of the battle, no one was able to step onto the Nirvana Bridge. This sentence contained even more information. This meant that the final winner of the seal battle was Xie Qingcheng. At the beginning of the battle, Su Zemo crippled Duke Yan, captured Lai Xian alive and released him. Then, he killed Song Su in one move, cut off 100,000 years of celestial immortal Luo Yang's lifespan, and severely injured Xie Tian Huang. Then, he killed Yu Hai and scared Zhong Feiyu away. Hiss! All of the cultivators in the inner yard were horrified. If not for the fact that it was clearly written on the heaven list, no one would have believed it. The seal-seizing battle had turned out to be like this. Every sentence seemed simple, but there was a lot of information hidden behind it. At the same time, it also confirmed many of the people's previous guesses. The first executioner, Song Su, had indeed died, and he was killed by Su Zemo in one move. This was simply unimaginable to the people. At the end of the battle, Lai Xian had an epiphany and his combat strength increased again. Then he was suppressed and captured by Su Zemo in 3 moves. The people were already numb and did not know what to say. Su Zemo had killed 2, crippled 1, and severely injured the other out of the 6 elites who were predicted to be in the top 10 of the heaven list. Only Zhong Feiyu and Lai Xian had escaped unscathed. Moreover, Lai Xian had been captured by Su Zemo twice. Just now, 100 Flower Fairy had said that Su Zemo's battle record was too bad, and that he had no experience fighting against elite celestial immortals. Now, in this battle, not only had Su Zemo fought against elite celestial immortals, but he had also fought against 6 elite celestial immortals alone. None of the battles that were predicted to be recorded in the heaven list, including Yin Ting's, were as shocking as this one. That was the end of Su Zemo's battle record. In the end of the evaluation, there were also a few paragraphs of explanation. Evaluation. This kid was previously ranked in the top 20 of the heaven list, which attracted a lot of criticism. They felt that this kid's battle record was too little and lacked hard battles, which was not enough to convince others. However, this seal-seizing battle is enough to prove this kid's strength. All the criticism will be dispelled. Many disciples of the academy looked sideways at Tianjia and the other foreign cultivators, who had challenged their mountain gate, and sneered. Tianjia and the others looked terrible and frightened. The information on the heaven list made them tremble in fear and sweat profusely. Just a few simple paragraphs of information, but it was as if there was a kind of suffocating pressure coming from them. Su Zemo fought against 6 elite celestial immortals with the cultivation of a level 7 celestial immortal, and won in the end. This is unprecedented. In the battle, he displayed his battle talent and control of the situation. It was amazing. His attacks were decisive and fierce. He destroyed the 6 people's joint attack with lightning speed and defeated them one by one. The whole process was amazing and almost perfect. The 6 of us were lucky enough to witness this battle and felt that this trip was not in vain. The 6 celestial immortals of the Divine Firmament Palace had a very high evaluation of Su Zimo. When the many Academy disciples saw this, they felt their blood boil and felt proud. In this battle, there's another detail worth mentioning. Su Zimo first attacked and captured Lai Xian. Then, he released him and said that if I can suppress you once, I can suppress you again. Then as expected, Lai Xian was captured again. Su Zimo also kept his promise and released Lai Xian again. This kid is decisive and fierce. However, he is also broad-minded and rare. His future is limitless. Heaven and Earth Academy will prosper with such a person. The battle record and evaluation took up the entire page. Although many details of the battle were not mentioned, it left a lot of room for imagination. Everyone was sure that this battle would go down in history. Su Zimo's name would also shake Divine Firmament and become one of the most popular celestial immortals in the 9 Clouds Immortal region, on par with Yin Ting. At this moment, there was a commotion in the crowd. It turned out that Tianjia, Ling Mu, Fairy Baihua, and the other foreign cultivators wanted to leave, but were stopped by many Academy disciples. Where are you going in such a hurry? Stay here for a few more days. Otherwise, people will say that Heaven and Earth Academy doesn't know how to treat guests and neglect you. Hundreds of thousands of Academy disciples surrounded this place. There were 3 layers inside and 3 outside. It was airtight. Tianjia and the others looked at the surrounding crowd, and the pressure increased. He said with a panicked expression, I won't stay. I have something to do. Goodbye. Yes. Ling Mu also hurriedly said, something happened to Lord Song Su. I have to go back and make arrangements for his funeral. Yin Bingying smiled and said, fellow cultivators, aren't you waiting for senior brother Su to come back and challenge him? No. Tianjia and the others trembled in fear and hurriedly waved their hands. More than 1,000 foreign cultivators were also frightened and shook their heads. Tianjia and the others were really scared. If they waited until Su Zimo came back, who knew if they could return alive? Even Song Su was killed in one move. Who among them could stop him? Yin Bingying sneered and waved her hand. The Academy disciples opened up a path. Accompanied by a burst of laughter, Tianjia and the others fled like birds and beasts. Chapter 25-23. At the same time, all the major sects in the Divine Firmament Celestial Realm, as well as the cultivators who were paying attention to the seal battle, saw the changes on the heaven list. The entire Divine Firmament Celestial Realm was shaken. This battle had completely established Su Zimo's position among the heaven immortals in the Divine Firmament Celestial Realm. A Stage 7 heaven immortal, ranked 3rd on the heaven list. Not to mention Yin Ting, no one in history had ever achieved such a feat. And the 6 perfected immortals of the Divine Firmament Palace had such a high opinion of Su Zimo that it would be discussed by countless cultivators in the future. I didn't expect that even Zhong Feiyu would be scared off. Su Zimo has become famous after this battle. I heard that Zhong Feiyu was forced to retreat because he couldn't unleash his full strength in the battle at Shura. He will definitely regain his dignity at the Divine Firmament Immortal Gathering. The Divine Firmament Immortal Gathering hasn't even started yet, but the heaven list is already so fierce. I can't imagine what kind of intense battles will erupt for the final heaven list ranking. Yin Ting, Qinggu, Su Zimo, Zhong Feiyu. Hehe. Just these 4 alone will be interesting to watch. Once the heaven list was released, the entire Divine Firmament Celestial Realm was in an uproar. In the library of the Zhixian Celestial Kingdom, the siblings, Yunju and Yenting, were also paying attention to the seal battle. It was different from the hustle and bustle of the outside world. The room in the library was silent. Yunju smiled after reading the heaven list. She picked up an ancient book beside her and browsed through it. What surprised her was that Yenting suddenly became silent and didn't speak for a long time. Yunju was very surprised. Yenting was very proud. Based on her understanding of her brother, he should have looked at the heaven list with disdain. He should have even said something bold. Why was he so calm? What's wrong? Yinju asked gently. He's very strong. Yinting said slowly, Sister, you're right. If we were at the same cultivation level, I might not be able to defeat him. Yinju was even more surprised. Her brother had been invincible since he started cultivating. Plus, he was very proud. Although he had lost once in the tomb, he had never lowered his head. But now, Yinting was saying something like that. From this, it could be seen that the strength Su Zimo had displayed in the seal-seizing battle had caused Yinting to feel immense pressure. A look of relief flashed across Yinju's eyes. At this moment, she finally felt that Yinting had matured. He had truly grown up. This momentary change in mental state might not increase Yinting's battle prowess by much. However, it would be of great use to his future cultivation. A good opponent could indeed help Yinting grow faster and give him more motivation to break through his limits. Yinting bowed and prepared to leave. Where are you going? Yinju asked. There's still 1,000 years left. Even though I've already reached the level of a Tier 9 Heavenly Immortal, I can't afford to be careless. Yinting said in a deep voice. I want to continue advancing and sharpen my sword Dao. Only then can I defeat Su Zimo at the Divine Firmament Immortal meeting. Go. Yinju nodded with a smile. After Yinting left, Yinju fell into deep thought. A trace of a smile appeared on her face as she muttered. Interesting. Zimo, I'm afraid even you didn't expect that your ranking on the Heaven leaderboard might force out an even stronger opponent. Flying Immortal Sect. Green mountains, clear waters, waterfalls, lush vegetation and Crane's sword. It was a picturesque scene. There was a pavilion in the middle of the lake. A woman in a plain blue palace robe sat within it. Her hair was tied up in a flying immortal bun. Her skin was fair and flawless, but her expression was cold. Beside her, there was a fragrance of agarwood. There was a zither placed on the table. The woman in the palace robe plucked the strings gently, and the zither music lingered in the air. There was a hint of anger and killing intent in the zither music. It sounded hurried and messed with one's mind. Exclamation point. The two maidservants behind the woman in the palace robe could not take it, and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Their faces were pale. The two maidservants were also heavenly immortals. However, they looked terrified at that moment. They hurriedly knelt on the ground and kowtowed. Please forgive us, princess. The woman in the palace robe was the princess of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom. She was one of the 4 fairies, Zither Immortal Mengyao. Mengyao's fingers paused, and the music gradually dissipated. Mengyao closed her eyes for a long time before opening them again. She said indifferently, Get up. It's not your fault. I'm the one who's in a mess. Is it because of Su Zimo? One of the maidservants asked tentatively. Mengyao said, I didn't expect him to be so tough. Even Zhong Feiyu was defeated. At that moment, one of the maidservants seemed to sense something, and took out a message talisman. Princess, Heavenly Immortal Luo Yang of the Imperial Wind Monastery requests an audience. Luo Yang. Mengyao frowned slightly. Why is he here? Another maidservant said, Heavenly Immortal Luo Yang has already been removed from the heaven ranking. Even if he's still in the 8th place, he's not qualified to meet our princess. The first maidservant said, Look at what he says. He has secrets about Su Zimo, and wants to report them to the princess. Oh. Mengyao's expression changed. She pondered for a while before saying, Let him come in. Not long after, another maidservant brought a white-haired old cultivator to the pavilion. Mengyao glanced at him. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, it would be hard to imagine that Heavenly Immortal Luo Yang, who was in his prime, would be reduced to such a state. Greetings, Fairy Mengyao. Heavenly Immortal Luo Yang bowed. Speak. Mengyao said faintly, I hope the secret you speak of can interest me. Otherwise, Mengyao didn't continue, but her tone was cold. Even if she killed a heavenly immortal in his twilight years, the Imperial Wind Monastery wouldn't say anything. Heavenly Immortal Luo Yang was so scared that his whole body trembled. He said nervously, Fairy Mengyao, I've met you once on the Dragon Abyss planet. Do you still remember? Dragon Abyss planet? Mengyao murmured softly. She recalled carefully and said, I've indeed met you, but what does this have to do with Su Zimo? Heavenly Immortal Luo Yang said in a deep voice. Fairy Mengyao, You must have forgotten that Su Zimo was also present in the abyss on the Dragon Abyss planet. It's just that Su Zimo was only a small Xian immortal at that time. Oh. Zither Immortal frowned slightly. She didn't even remember Heavenly Immortal Luo Yang, let alone a Xian immortal. Continue, Meng Yao said. Heavenly Immortal Luo Yang perked up and said, at that time Fairy Meng Yao, the Moonlight Sword Immortal, and perfected Immortal Wufeng went there to seize a pure Yang spiritual treasure. But later, the pure Yang spiritual treasure suddenly disappeared. In the end, a huge divine dragon came out of nowhere. Meng Yao remembered clearly when this matter was mentioned. At that time, the three true immortals had fought with the divine dragon. In the end they were defeated, and even she was injured. Chapter 25-24. Luoyang Celestial saw that Meng Yao was deep in thought, and knew that he had hit the nail on the head. He pulled himself together and continued. At that time, the pure Yang spirit treasure, the God-Fiend soul summoning banner, disappeared suddenly and mysteriously. The Moonlight Sword Immortal was the first to appear, and interrogated who had hidden the God-Fiend soul summoning banner. Later, an Earth Immortal stood up and pointed out that a Mystic Immortal had hidden the God-Fiend soul summoning banner. However, the Moonlight Sword Immortal did not find any trace of the God-Fiend soul summoning banner in this Mystic Immortal's storage bag and sea of consciousness, so she threw him at the foot of the mountain. Luoyang Celestial Immortal took a deep breath and said, and this Mystic Immortal was Su Zimo from Qingquan Academy. Oh, Meng Yao's expression changed as she murmured, a Mystic Immortal cultivated to his current level in just a few thousand years. This kind of cultivation speed was simply too terrifying. Not to mention cultivators who ascended from the lower realm. Even the geniuses of the upper realm could not reach this level. All these years, only Yun Ting had appeared in the entire heaven realm. Meng Yao said slowly, if he did not have a great opportunity, he would not have reached this level. That's right, Luoyang Celestial Immortal said in a low voice. So, I suspect that the God-Fiend soul summoning banner was in Su Zimo's hands. but he deceived the Moonlight Sword Immortal. What's even stranger is that although the Moonlight Sword Immortal did not find the God-fiend's soul-summoning banner in his body, she threw him at the foot of the mountain and slammed him against the stone wall. That kind of power was enough to kill any mystic immortal. However, this person managed to survive. Meng Yao shook her head slightly and said, "Even so, it doesn't prove anything. I also suspect something else," Luoyang's celestial immortal hurriedly said. "Back then, when the God-fiend's soul-summoning banner disappeared, the soul of a divine dragon appeared and fought with it. Then, a real divine dragon appeared and fought with 3 perfected immortal powerhouses. Among the cultivation techniques that Su Zimo specializes in, there's a secret skill that's similar to a dragon's roar. Also, from what I know, he even used a primordial spirit secret technique of the dragons during the seal battle." A cold light flashed in Meng Yao's eyes. Logically speaking, there was no way the essence spirit secret skills of dragons could be released without the essence spirits of dragons. Luo Yang Heavenly Immortal said, "I'm guessing that the divine dragon's soul and the subsequent divine dragons are most likely here because of this child. There must be some kind of relationship between this kid and the dragons." A playful expression gradually appeared on Meng Yao's face as she said, "Not of our race. This is a little interesting." After pondering for a while, Meng Yao took out 2 message talismans. She left a few words on them with her divine sense, and sent them to the Imperial Wind Monastery and Heaven and Earth Academy. "Wait here for a moment," Meng Yao said to true immortal Luo Yang. "In a while, when the others arrive, repeat what you just said to them." Celestial immortal Luo Yang bowed her head in acknowledgement. Not long after, a figure descended. This person was riding on a giant golden ant. His entire body was emitting a ferocious aura as he sped over. Before he even got close, he raised his voice and said, "What happened? Why is Fairy Meng Yao in such a hurry to see me? Could it be that you miss me? Ha 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 ha." Meng Yao did not reply. She moved her fingers, and the sound of a zither could be heard. Before the sound of the zither was finished, another sword beam sped over from the other side. It was sharp and extremely fast, overtaking the former in the blink of an eye. "Oh!" The true immortal on the golden ant raised his brow slightly. "Fellow Taoist Moonlight is here as well? Wufeng, how have you been?" The Moonlight Sword Immortal paused in her tracks, and looked at the man not far away, replying indifferently. True immortal Wufeng patted the golden ant beneath him, and had it stop beside the lake. Together with the Moonlight Sword Immortal, they descended into the pavilion in the middle of the lake. "What's the meaning of this?" True immortal Wufeng asked with a smile. "It's only been a few thousand years, and the 3 of us are gathered once more. Fairy Meng Yao, are you intending to reminisce about our parting? I've called the 2 of you here for something important." Meng Yao did not reply to true immortal Wufeng. She glanced at Luo Yang Heavenly Immortal beside her, and gestured for him to repeat what happened earlier. After hearing this, the Moonlight Sword Immortal and true immortal Wufeng had different expressions. A look of realization flashed through the Moonlight Sword Immortal's eyes. "No wonder I kept feeling that this lad was a little familiar, as if I've seen him somewhere before. So, it's that ant from back then. Back then he was thrown to the foot of the mountain by me. He actually didn't die. In his impression, that mystic immortal back then was like an ant that he could casually stomp to death. How could he remember?" "What do the 2 of you say?" Meng Yao said. "If the dragons that injured us are really here for this lad, we can't just let it go, right? There's no evidence for such a thing." True immortal Wufeng looked at the Moonlight Sword Immortal not far away and said, "Furthermore, this Su Zimo is a disciple of Qianquan Academy and fellow Taoist Moonlight's junior brother. Now that his reputation is at its peak, we can't just bully him and attack him, right? You don't have to worry about me," the Moonlight Sword Immortal said in a low voice. "If this lad really has something to do with the dragons or is one of the dragons, as the head of the true disciples of the Academy, I can't be biased." Because of Mo Qing, the Moonlight Sword Immortal already hated Su Zimo to the core. She was afraid that she wouldn't find a chance to attack him. Now this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If Su Zimo stepped into the true self realm, and was accepted as an official true disciple by the Patriarch, it would be almost impossible for her to attack Su Zimo again. I don't care about this matter. True Immortal Wufeng shrugged slightly and suddenly said. He could see that the Moonlight Sword Immortal was obviously very hostile towards Su Zimo, and the feud between Zither Immortal Meng Yao and Su Zimo had already spread throughout the entire Divine Firmament Immortal domain. In fact, there was no deep hatred between him and Su Zimo. Moreover, it was still unknown whether the incident on the Dragon Abyss planet had anything to do with Su Zimo. At this moment, True Immortal Wufeng's sudden attitude was not that he didn't want to interfere, but that he wanted to retreat in order to advance. He wanted to scheme for greater benefits. Meng Yao and Moonlight were both intelligent people. After thinking for a while, they could tell what True Immortal Wufeng was thinking. Meng Yao said, "From what I know, this lad has a lot of treasures on him. I only want the Jade Purity book." True Immortal Wufeng demanded an exorbitant price. Meng Yao and the Moonlight Sword Immortal frowned at the same time. But in their hearts, getting rid of Su Zimo was their #1 priority. At this thought, the two of them looked at each other and nodded in agreement. Okay. True Immortal Wufeng agreed without hesitation. How do we do it? Su Zimo is now in the Qianquan Academy. We can't possibly run into the academy and kill him, right? Meng Yao also looked at the Moonlight Sword Immortal. The Moonlight Sword Immortal narrowed her eyes slightly. We have to wait for an opportunity, at least until he leaves the Qianquan Academy. Divine Firmament Immortal meeting. The three of them thought of the same thing and spoke almost at the same time. Chapter 25-25. After Su Zimo helped Xie Qingqing obtain the Lingxia seal, he did not stay in the Fiery Sun Immortal Kingdom. Instead, he bade farewell to Xie Qingqing and returned to Qianquan Academy. This time, Xie Qingqing was the biggest winner in the seal battle, but he had also gained a lot. Without the opportunity at the bottom of the Blood Fiend Lake, he would need at least 1,000 years to cultivate to level 7. Moreover, he would not have had the chance to learn the secret technique, White Tiger biting the corpse. After a month of cultivation at the bottom of the Blood Fiend Lake, Qinglian's true body had absorbed a lot of Blood Fiend Qi, and the Blood Fiend Qi in the White Tiger bone had been used up. The White Tiger bone had also turned into a pile of bone dust. Su Zimo returned to Qianquan Academy and prepared to go into seclusion again. If there was nothing else, he planned to cultivate until the Divine Firmament Immortal Gathering and strive to step into level 8. When he cultivated to level 8, he was confident that he could defeat Yun Ting even without using Qinglian's bloodline. Su Zimo returned to his cave abode. Just as he was about to go into seclusion, Wu Dao's original body did not look at this black true fragment again. The demon territory. He suddenly sensed a strange movement coming from this black corner of the demon territory. When he took out the map fragment and took a look, the Heaven Baron sect was under the control of the tall figure on the black map. The 5 demon generals grew rapidly and gradually expanded. It was a series of curved tracks was not fast, that resembled some sort of map. But it steadily grew stronger day by day. Moreover, there was a power in the Heaven's Wrath Thunder Emperor that seemed to want to lead him to a certain place. Also rose to fame in the Fiend region. Wu Dao's original body murmured softly when the Heaven Baron sect was mentioned. After all these years of seclusion, the first person that came to everyone's mind was still the patriarch had already been cultivated to greater mastery. Araki Takashi. Now that he had the opportunity to do so, had not appeared in all these years, he might as well head over and take a look. The battle in the Central Plains Wu Dao's original body left the place of seclusion. The battle in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. The Heavenly Wolf's ears twitched the entire Heaven realm. Because of this battle, it shuddered and cultivators had joined the Heaven Baron sect. The Heavenly Wolf was invigorated and somewhat excited, who was in seclusion, given Araki Takashi's current reputation in the Fiend domain fragment from his storage bag. Proud to be able to carry the Araki Takashi out for a walk. It was made of a special material. Wu Dao's original body said casually, Wu Dao's true self had tried before, leaving behind a resentful Heavenly Wolf. Even if he erupted with original body informed the Thunder Emperor wouldn't be able to tear apart Heaven Baron map fragment. Following the guidance of the Black Map true body ascended to the Devil Domain. The central plains destroyed the Scarlet Pheasant Valley. About 10 days later, it from the Valley Master. Wu Dao's original body the reason why the Scarlet Pheasant Valley's Valley Master's cultivation he had heard some rumors along the way. And bounds. It was said that the various major heaven level sects and factions of the Fiend Domain Black Map were moving towards the Dao's original body, the Fiend Domain in the same direction as him. Backing Mountain was one of the most famous mountain peaks in the Fiend domain. At that time, that was because he had only taken a casual glance at it known as the Immortal Tree. Mind being dragged into the figure in the black fragmentary map. Indestructible. Every track on the map knew how long it had turned into countless runes. When Wu Dao's original body transcended then the tribulation, violent, murderous, and destructive emotion emerged in his heart. Factions of the At the same time, an endless stream of heaven and earth Yuan Qi swarmed into his body. Overlord sect, the speed at which he absorbed and refined it was beyond a large number of cultivators. Strange black patterns also appeared on his skin and face. Their ambitions were clear just by hearing the name of that faction. And mysterious. They were above the nine firmaments. Of Wu Dao's original body was indestructible dominated the Fiend domain. Naturally, and no other faction could not affect them was mainly because they had once produced an Emperor Lord. The black patterns that appeared on his body did not disappear at the foot of Backing Mountain. Power was attached to his body, gusted inside, as though it wanted to take anyone root. Below the perfected demon realm, it was refined by Wu Dao's furnace with his blood qi and vanished. I heard that there's a Fiend Emperor's tomb at the foot of Backing Mountain. It's said that when the Fiend Emperor's tomb appeared for the first time, it alarmed many sects and factions. Who knows how many fortuitous encounters, Dharma treasures, and secret techniques there are inside. I heard that even the Emperor's son of Lingxiao Palace has moved out and is preparing to explore the Fiend's den. I heard that there seems to be a traitor in Lingxiao Palace. When Lingxiao Palace was chasing after the traitor, the Fiend's den appeared. Along the way, Wu Dao's original body heard many rumors and gradually had an outline of the matter in his heart. If he was not wrong, the black map fragment in his hand should be related to the Fiend's den that appeared at the foot of Backing Mountain. The closer he got to Backing Mountain, the more Fiend cultivators there were. Most of them were perfected demons. Of course, there were also a few daring heaven immortals who wanted to join in the fun and try their luck. However, be it perfected demons or heaven immortals, when they saw a man in purple robes and a silver mask, they all revealed looks of awe and fear. They all avoided him, and no one dared to approach. Chapter 25-26. The Patriarch of the Heaven Baron sect, Araki Takashi, is here too. Let's go. Let's stay away from him so we don't get on his bad side. Many demonic cultivators had never seen Wu Dao in person, but when they saw his purple robe and silver mask, they quickly recalled the rumors about Araki Takashi. The Heaven Baron sect is located in a remote corner, and Araki Takashi is just a true demon. Why should we be afraid? The appearance of the Devil's Den has alarmed the entire demonic realm. Who knows how many sects and peerless powerhouses have come? Araki Takashi is nothing. What do you know? Another person said with lingering fear. In that battle back then, Desolate Marshal killed Yin Zui and the others, as well as the million-strong devil army. In the eyes of many, he had already replaced Yin Zui, and become the new supreme true devil. Hee. A horse-faced demonic cultivator laughed strangely and said, "Not necessarily. I heard that the emperor of the Ling Xiao Palace is very disdainful of him. Now that the devil's den has appeared, Emperor Ling Xian has also come out. If the two of them meet, there will be a fight. Of course, no one dares to use the emperor's name. Ling Xian, the immortal of Ling Qi, how domineering, how arrogant." Another immortal curled his lips and said, "I don't think so. Don't forget, there is a demon emperor behind Emperor Ling Xian. Unless Araki Takashi wants to die, he will definitely avoid Emperor Ling Xian." Near the Shadowback Mountain, a large number of cultivators had gathered. At a glance, they were densely packed. The appearance of the Devil's Den had alarmed countless demonic cultivators, and they all wanted to come and find opportunities. After Wu Dao's original body arrived, he looked around. At the foot of the Shadowback Mountain, there was a huge cave. It was pitch black inside, and the wind whistled like the bloody mouth of an ancient beast. Even divine sense could not penetrate it. This was the Devil's Den that the demons were talking about. At the very front of the Devil's Den, there were a few great forces occupying one side. Their banners fluttered in the wind, and powerful cultivators gathered under their command. No other cultivators dared to approach them. At the front of the Devil's Den, there were hundreds of thousands of devil cultivators gathered. Apart from the heavenly immortals, there were also hundreds of true fiends, standing in front of the hundreds of thousands of cultivators. Their leader was not old, but his gaze was as sharp as an eagle's, and his aura was terrifying. Hundreds of thousands of demonic cultivators surrounded this person like stars surrounding the moon. Judging by his temperament, if there were no surprises, he should be the disciple of Ling Xiao Palace, Ling Xian. Towering Palace had mobilized such a large force just for the appearance of this demon's den. It was clear just how powerful Towering Palace's foundation was. After Towering Palace, there were a few other major factions. The Black Demon Sect, Acheron's Villa, the Divine Demon Ridge, and the Wind Demon Sect that Wu Dao's true body had met before were all included in the list. In addition to these four heaven-ranked forces, there was also the Ghost King Palace, Heavenly Evil Sect, and Soul Devourer Palace. These three forces were equally famous as the former. Although the cultivators brought by these few major factions were slightly fewer than Towering Palace, there were still hundreds of thousands of them. When Wu Dao's true body arrived, many cultivators around him made way for him, and an empty space appeared around him. Although Wu Dao's true body was alone, his aura was not inferior at all when compared to the heaven-ranked forces. When the true fiends of the Black Demon Sect, Acheron's Villa, Divine Demon Ridge, and Wind Demon Sect caught sight of Wu Dao's true body, they revealed a trace of fear. The young master of Heavenly Evil Sect rolled his eyes and came up with a plan. Suddenly he raised his voice. "This must be the supreme true fiend whose name shook the fiend region in recent years. Fellow Taoist Araki Takashi, right?" Wu Dao's true body did not move at all. He did not even look at this person and remained silent. This sentence attracted the attention of Ling Xian's disciple. Ling Xian was standing at the front and did not notice Wu Dao's true body. Hearing this, he slowly turned around and stared at Wu Dao's true body with an unfriendly expression. "Araki Takashi is here too." Ling Xian nodded slowly. His eyes were cold as he said, Good. All these years, Araki Takashi's reputation in the Fiend region was like the sun in the sky. He had already overshadowed Ling Xian's limelight. There were even many rumors that Araki Takashi was already a supreme true fiend. This was hard for Ling Xian to accept. Towering Palace was hosting the True Fiend list. Yan Zui had fallen, but the new True Fiend list had not yet begun. What right did this person have to be first on the True Fiend list? Ling Xian's body moved, ready to find trouble with Wu Dao's true body. However, the group of true demons behind him exchanged glances and stepped forward to stop Ling Xian. "Prince, please calm down. That Araki Takashi is nothing to be afraid of. There is no need to kill a chicken with a butcher's knife." "That's right. Master Ling Xiao told us to prioritize the fiend lair, and not to cause any more trouble." "Exactly. Once we get the treasures in the fiend lair, this Araki Takashi will be a fish on the chopping block." In reality, The true demons were still a little wary of Wu Dao's true body, but they did not want to show weakness. Ling Xian nodded and temporarily put away his killing intent. After a short pause, he seemed to have thought of something. He gritted his teeth and asked hatefully, "Are you sure that bitch really did escape?" Someone saw it with their own eyes. One of the true demons said with certainty. However, that bitch's cultivation base is only at the 5th stage of Heaven Immortal Realm. She definitely can't withstand the Yin wind in the Devil's Denver. She's probably already dead in there. Her body and soul are destroyed, and not even her bones are left. Hearing this, Ling Xian's eyes flashed with pain. From his tone just now, it was clear that he hated that bitch. But now, hearing that the bitch died, his heart ached again. Not necessarily. Another true demon comforted. Your Highness, don't forget. That woman also has a demon map of annihilation. This fiend lair is caused by this map. With this map on her, she might be able to neutralize the Yin wind. At the entrance of the fiend lair, the Yin wind blew. Many forces did not act rashly. They were all waiting for the Yin wind to weaken, or even dissipate. Otherwise, not even many of the true demons present would be able to withstand such a powerful gust of Yin wind. Strange, why haven't I seen any demon kings? Logically speaking, this is the first time such a mysterious fiend lair has appeared. Who knows how many treasures are inside? Even a demon king would be tempted. The cultivators around the Shadow's Back Mountain were vast. There were at least a few million of them, and this number was still rapidly increasing. But among the many demonic cultivators, there were no demon kings. A demonic cultivator said in a low voice, "Don't look at the cultivators nearby. The highest level is only a true demon. In reality, there are definitely many demon kings observing in the dark. They just haven't shown themselves yet." That's right. This is the first time the fiend lair has appeared. Although no one has touched the treasures inside, who knows how many hidden dangers there are? These demon kings are smart. They all want us to go down and test the waters. If some shocking treasure really appears, they will definitely show themselves and fight for it. Just as everyone was discussing, Wu Dao's original body suddenly moved. He strode towards the entrance of the fiend lair. Chapter 25-27. This action caused a wave of restlessness and clamor. One had to know that when the demon's lair opened for the first time, the wind howled. Nobody knew what was inside and nobody dared to act rashly. But today, Wu Dao's original body dared to brave the terrifying wind and barge into the demon's lair alone. Danger and opportunity always coexist. The first one to barge in may face unimaginable dangers, but he may also be the first to obtain an opportunity. Wu Dao's original body was bold. Relying on his true Wu Dao body, he was not afraid of the wind at all. Plus, he overheard the conversation between Ling Xian and the others. If he guessed correctly, the black incomplete map in his hand should be the demon painting of annihilation that the true demons of Ling Xiao Palace were talking about. Even if the wind was too strong, and even he could not withstand it, he could try to bring out the black incomplete map. Plus, he had a way out, the ceaseless pain hell. With the cauldron of Zhen Yu, he could shatter space at any time and teleport back to the ceaseless pain hell. Wu Dao's original body moved, passing through the crowd of the major forces, and the dozens of people from Ling Xiao Palace. He headed towards the demon's lair. Wu Dao's original body's reaction caused the killing intent that Ling Xian had just calmed down to burst out again. "You're courting death." Ling Xian's expression was cold. Channeling his blood, he held a long sword in his hand and stabbed towards the back of Wu Dao's original body's head. Before Ling Xian's body arrived, the sharpness of the sword had already arrived. Wu Dao's original body sensed something and turned around abruptly. Under the silver mask, his eyes shone brightly. The sharpness of the sword was actually shattered by his gaze and turned into nothingness. Ling Xian's reaction was fast. Just as the sword was about to pierce Wu Dao's face, his wrist shook slightly. In an instant, tens of thousands of sword lights appeared in Wu Dao body's line of sight. They were like a dense sword net that enveloped him. Among the boundless sword light, there was only one that contained true murderous intent. This move was indeed brilliant. The two of them were so close to each other, Yet Ling Xian suddenly changed his move. Almost no one could find the real fatal strike in the sea of sword energy. Ling Xian's eyes flashed with mockery. In the face of this sword, Araki Takashi could only retreat and avoid the tip of the sword. And once Araki Takashi retreated, he would completely unleash his sword aura. It would be endless until Araki Takashi was cut down by his sword. Suddenly, Wu Dao's main body stretched out his hand and reached into the boundless sword light. In the blink of an eye he grabbed the sword. There was no retreat, no evasion. He simply directly and violently grabbed onto Ling Xian's sword. In an instant, all the sword lights disappeared. Ling Xian's attack was broken in an instant. "Your hand is gone." Ling Xian was not in a hurry. He smiled coldly and suddenly exerted force in his palm. He wanted to turn the sword and crush Wu Dao's hand. However, he suddenly realized that his sword didn't move at all when it landed in the palm of Wu Dao's true body. It was as if he had lost control of the sword. How is this possible? Ling Xian's eyes were filled with disbelief. To know that Ling Xian's sword was a spiritual treasure that his father personally made for him. It was also a 9th level pure yang spiritual treasure. How could it not crush this person's body? Before he could react, he suddenly felt a shocking force coming from his palm. It was mixed with vibrations, twisting, and many other forces. He couldn't hold on to the sword at all. Pain came from his palm, and he subconsciously loosened his grip. The sword flew out of his hand. Under Ling Xian's gaze, his pure yang spiritual treasure was snatched away by Wu Dao's original body. Not good. Ling Xian's heart sank. He didn't have time to think. He hurriedly used his movement technique and retreated. After Wu Dao's original body snatched the sword, he flipped his hand and threw it. Whoosh! A flash of sword light flashed by like lightning cutting through the night sky. It was too fast. Ling Xian channeled his blood qi to the maximum, and the sound of a tsunami could be heard from his body. Using a secret technique of Ling Shao Palace, his body floated in midair like a willow catkin, and he dodged the sword by a hair's breadth. The sword almost brushed past his cheek. The tip of the sword left a wound that was so deep that his bones could be seen. A layer of fresh blood seeped out. He wasn't even in danger yet. Wu Dao's original body snatched the sword with his left hand and threw it casually. His right hand punched towards Ling Xian's face. "Get lost." Wu Dao's original body merely spat out a single word coldly. That punch was explosive like a volcano erupting. It was turbulent like raging waves hitting the shore. It was majestic and unstoppable. That punch was not a secret technique, nor was it flashy. However, Ling Xian had never experienced such a terrifying punch in his entire life of cultivation. The fist in front of him continued to expand. It was more ferocious than any divine ability or divine weapon. What was even more frightening was that this punch seemed to have sucked away all the heaven and earth essence qi around him and sealed off his escape route. The entire space caved in and rotated towards his fist. Even though he was here, he could not help but crash towards the fist. There was nowhere to retreat. He did not even have the chance to escape. Bloodline phenomenon. Ling Xian was an emperor's son after all, and was personally taught by the Fiend Emperor. At this critical moment, he tried his best to calm down. Crossing his arms in front of him, he released his bloodline phenomenon at the same time. Bang! That punch landed heavily on his arms. Ling Xian's body shuddered. The entire space seemed to have paused for a moment, as though time had stopped. Following it, the rare phenomenon of his bloodline that had just taken shape was shattered into pieces by the punch of his martial Dao true god. Ling Xian's silhouette, like an arrow, flew back into the crowd. Exclamation point! Ling Xian coughed out large mouthfuls of blood, and his arms trembled. The bones in his arms were shattered by Wu Dao's original body. Two true demons rushed forward, wanting to support Ling Xian. However, when Ling Xian crashed into their embrace, the two true demons shuddered and were sent flying with horrified expressions. Spitting out mouthfuls of blood, they were sent flying. Ling Xian knocked over a few people in succession before he managed to stop himself. His spirit consciousness moved, and he hurriedly took out a bunch of elixirs from his storage bag and stuffed them into his mouth. He glared at the figure at the entrance of the fiend's lair in shock and anger as his heart thumped. he felt a sense of lingering fear. If he had not reacted in time, that sword and punch would have killed him. Thankfully, he released his bloodline phenomenon. Otherwise, he would have been blown up by a single punch from Araki Takashi, and his essence spirit would not even have a chance to escape. This person was way too terrifying. A deep sense of fear flashed through Ling Xian's eyes. Psst! It was only at this moment that gasps could be heard from the surroundings. The crowd was in an uproar. Wu Dao's original body turned around, dispelled the move, snatched the sword, threw the sword and punched. All in one go. The exchange between the two of them was way too fast. For many heaven immortals, they did not even see the entire process clearly, and did not know what happened. In the eyes of many fiend cultivators, the moment Ling Xian charged forward with his sword, Wu Dao's original body turned around and hollered, sending Ling Xian flying back with severe injuries. Chapter 25-28. Wu Dao's original body watched as Ling Xian retreated into the crowd and did not chase after him. There were far too many cultivators around this Ling Xian. It would take a lot of effort to kill him. Just as he was about to attack Ling Xian, a few strands of terrifying qi locked onto him. Unsurprisingly, these auras were all from Grotto Heaven Realm cultivators. After all, he was the prince of Ling Shao Palace. It was not surprising that he had a demon king protecting him. Wu Dao's original body was too lazy to pay attention to this person. His qi and blood surged as he dispersed the auras around him and entered the cave. Ling Xian swallowed many immortal pills. Combined with his powerful qi and self-healing ability, his face was much rosier, and his injuries were recovering quickly. Araki Takashi. Ling Xian stared at the silhouette of the original Wu Dao. Two words squeezed out from between his teeth as his killer intent intensified. Even if he could not defeat Araki Takashi, as long as the demon king of Ling Shao Palace kills Araki Takashi, he would still be a supreme demon. Your Highness, what do we do now? A true demon asked. Ling Xian waved his hand and drew a few lines among the true demons behind him. You guys go in and take a look. Remember, you must keep an eye on Araki Takashi. Don't let him run out of your sight. Behind Ling Xian, 20 true demons were selected. These 20 true demons knew that the prince in front of them clearly had his concerns and did not dare to enter the cave. That was why he wanted them to go in first. However, Ling Shao Palace had a strict hierarchy, and they did not dare to disobey. Wait, Ling Xian pondered for a while, and looked at the two beside him. Duan Ming, Song Shi, you two go in as well just in case. Yes, Your Highness. Duan Ming and Song Shi replied in a low voice. These two were half-step Grotto Heaven Realm cultivators. However, Ling Xian was still a little worried about true demons. With two half-step Grotto Heaven Realm cultivators, he felt much safer. Moreover, they were only the vanguard. The demon kings of Towering Palace were also observing the movements of the demon's lair nearby. If anything happened, these demon kings would immediately appear. Furthermore, it was not just Towering Palace. The other 7 sects also had demon kings lurking nearby, waiting for the right moment to strike. The Black Demon sect's young master seemed to be carefully listening to something. After a short period of time, he also chose several true demons and headed towards the demon cave. Acheron's Manor, Divine Fiend Ridge, Wind Demon Sect, Ghost King Hall, and Soul Devourer Hall were not willing to fall behind. The young masters of the various sects led their men and charged towards the Devil's Den. Interesting. The young master of the Heavenly Evil sect chuckled and said, "Looks like my Heavenly Evil sect can't fall behind. Let's go." Since Wu Dao's main body had barged into the demon's den, the peace in the area was instantly broken. With Towering Palace in the lead, the 7 great demonic sects and the other major sects could no longer hold themselves back and sent people to barge into the demon's den. This was the first time the demonic cave had appeared in the world. The treasures inside had never seen the light of day. They had been covered in dust for many years, so they were definitely in relatively good condition. This meant that whoever got there first would be able to reap more benefits. Of course, the first batch of people to enter the demon's den would also have to face unpredictable dangers. Unlike the other cultivators, the young masters of the 7 great demonic sects had something to rely on, and were not bothered by the winds at the entrance of the demon's den. After the 7 young masters entered the demon's den, they quietly took out a black map fragment from their storage bags in the darkness and held it in their palms. Others might not know the origin of this demon's den, but the 7 of them each had a black map fragment in their hands. Naturally, they knew that below this demon's den was definitely a tomb of a demon emperor. The reason they came this time was because they felt the guidance of the black map fragment. Originally, not many people would know about this matter. However, it was said that there was a traitor in Towering Palace who stole the black map fragment from Crown Prince Ling Xian and escaped here. He barged into the demon's den and exposed this matter. The winds at the entrance of the demon's den were the most ferocious. As Wu Dao's main body continued to descend, the winds gradually weakened until they completely disappeared. This demon's den was like a gigantic inverted pit. Wu Dao's main body followed the guidance of the black map fragment and advanced diagonally downwards. Although the range of his vision and spirit consciousness was limited, he was not worried with the help of his spirit perception. After walking for an unknown period of time, a faint light shone from below. He seemed to have arrived at the lowest level of the demon's den. Along the way, it was extremely quiet, and he did not encounter any dangers or traps. That was a little strange. Wu Dao's main body was puzzled. Logically speaking, if this was truly the tomb of an imperial emperor, given the other party's status, they would definitely not want their tomb to be discovered and trampled on by their descendants. Therefore, there would be all kinds of dangers and traps in the tombs and caverns of many experts. Throughout history, most of the tombs of imperial emperors were extremely dangerous places. However, apart from the winds at the entrance that were somewhat dangerous, there was nothing unusual about this demon's den. A series of footsteps could be faintly heard behind him, mixed with the conversations of countless cultivators. It was chaotic and noisy. If he was not wrong, the fiend cultivators outside should have followed him in as well. As the martial Dao body descended, everything before him suddenly became clear and bright. Before him was a gigantic palace with luxurious decorations. The 4 walls were embedded with night illumination pearls the size of longans. On the 4 walls of the palace, there were rows of shelves that should have been filled with treasures. Some of the shelves were clearly used to store divine weapons. Some of the shelves should have been used to store cultivation technique manuals. However, those shelves were empty and had long been taken away by someone, leaving only some traces of a sweep. If I'm not wrong, all the treasures in this palace should have been swept clean by the traitor of Lingxiao Palace. Wu Dao's main body recalled the conversation of the few cultivators in Lingxiao Palace. With a thought, he had a rough guess. The palace was huge and he circled around. Apart from the entrance he came from, there was another exit on the left of the palace that led to somewhere unknown. Right then, the cultivators of Lingxiao Palace barged in as well. Wu Dao's main body did not stay there. Following the guidance of the black map fragment, he headed toward the exit on the left of the palace. This place was originally filled with immortal elixirs. Duan Ming stood in front of a row of shelves and took a deep sniff. He said in a deep voice, "The medicinal fragrance of the immortal elixirs has yet to dissipate. It's obvious that someone has just taken these immortal elixirs away. Do you even need to think? It must be Araki Takeshi." Songshur said coldly. The young master of Heavenly Evil Sect snorted. "This Araki Takeshi is too ruthless. He ate the meat and didn't even leave a drop of soup for us. If it was the Demon Emperor's tomb, there would definitely be more treasures," Duan Ming said in a deep voice. "This place can only be considered as the entrance to the tomb. The real treasures must be behind. It seems that this Demon Emperor's tomb is not dangerous. We were too cautious. Let's hurry up and follow him. Don't let him take all the treasures away." Someone shouted and everyone hurriedly chased after him. Chapter 25-29. Everyone quickened their footsteps, and even used their movement techniques to turn into streams of light that sped away, afraid that Wu Dao's true body would snatch all the treasures. Before long, everyone caught sight of the second palace. This palace was even more spacious and majestic than the previous palace. The shelves were still empty, and there was only a purple-robed cultivator with a silver mask standing alone in the middle of the hall. The expressions of many cultivators darkened completely. Many of them looked at Wu Dao's true body with intense hostility. There were so many treasures in the tomb. If everyone rushed forward together, they might all get a share. But now, so many treasures were taken by a single person. None of the cultivators present could accept that. Although everyone was wary of Araki Takashi's ferocious reputation, the true demons present were not weak either. Furthermore, there were a few half-step grotto heaven experts holding down the fort. Even if Araki Takashi was a supreme true demon, he did not have much chance of winning against a half-step grotto heaven expert. Seeing that Araki Takashi was about to leave again, many cultivators rushed forward and surrounded Wu Dao's true body in the blink of an eye. The group of true demons was led by Duan Ming. He had just noticed that it wasn't just the black demon sect's young masters of the 7 heaven-level fiend sects were among masters, also had a black map fragment in their hands. With unfriendly expressions, since you all said that I wanted to take all the treasures for myself, the group of people I'll do it right now. Without Wu Dao's main body moved swiftly and fiercely. His gaze was as though he was looking at a bunch of the black demon sect's young master with a single palm overboard and seized the black map in a deep voice. Then, everyone who seized the treasures in this tomb mountain manor's young master. Don't even think about taking them all for yourself. He shouted out, Araki Takashi, we don't want to be enemies with you. Many cultivators also shouted out the young master of black Duan Ming and Songshire stimulated their blood energy and rushed towards Wu Dao's main body in a triangular formation. You'll have to ask us first. Wu Dao's main body punched out twice in a row. The young master of heavenly evil was filled with boundless strength. Araki Takashi was unstoppable. Spit out all the treasures that you took earlier landed. And let everyone redistribute them. Already felt the young lords of the sky ranked demon sects. They couldn't express their opinions, and the blood in their bodies seemed as if it would evaporate. No matter how strong Araki finally experienced the pressure that Imperial Prince so many true demons when facing this half-step grotto heaven realm masters. The two of them didn't dare to hesitate. Moreover, they heard the patriarch their respective heavenly grottos behind them. Although a half-step grotto heaven powerhouse failed to break through to the grotto heaven realm, ambush outside the devil's den, condense a grotto heaven phantom at any time and borrow a wisp of grotto heaven's power. Even though it was just a wisp that he had taken all the treasures in the two perfected immortals and perfected Wu Dao's main body didn't explain. The moment he bothered to explain, he only looked around, his tone was cold, they dissipated and vanished. His gaze was intimidating. Bang. He slowly asked, the two of them received the courage to provoke Wu Dao's main body head-on with the strength of their bodies. Wu Dao's eyes widened and suddenly moved. Their bodies like froze in midair. After pausing for a moment, demon sect's their bodies suddenly exploded. Wu Dao's main body spread out a hand that blotted out the heavens. Both of their essence spirits fingers were like by 5 stone pillars from Wu Dao's main body. Wu Dao's main body did not know why the grotto heaven phantoms of the two of them suddenly failed. The 5 stone pillars squeezed the black demon sect's young master's body. Their grotto heaven blood mist gushed out. They wouldn't be able to defend against his true Wu Dao scream at greater mastery. The black demon sect's young master was crushed by Wu Dao's true physique was at lesser mastery. His primordial spirit was extinguished and his body against Yanzue and the others. At the same time, after exhausting all his trump floated down, he had to rely on the house casually put this black map fragment into his grotto heaven powerhouse. The black map fragment in the black demon sect's young master's hand was at greater mastery, made of the same material and he could defeat any one in his grotto heaven powerhouse. There was definitely some sort of connection between the grotto heaven realm. As for facing a true grotto heaven realm powerhouse, Wu Dao's main body knew that if he didn't use the hell suppressing cauldron, he wouldn't be able to fight them head-on. After all, the true martial realm only corresponded to the true one realm of the immortal, Buddhist, and demon Daos. It hadn't touched on the higher levels of power. As for the grotto heaven realm, the power that one could comprehend and control, after condensing a grotto heaven, had completely surpassed the true one realm and reached another level. This was the difference between heaven and earth, the difference between a fish and a dragon. It was a qualitative leap that couldn't be crossed at all. Of course, Wu Dao's main body was an anomaly after all. He had refined tens of thousands of techniques and absorbed hundreds of scriptures to create the Wu Dao body. He was the first person in history to pass the 10th level of heavenly tribulation. If he could cultivate the true Wu Dao's true physique to perfection, he would have enough confidence to break through the barrier between the two realms and suppress the ordinary immortal kings in the grotto heaven realm. On the battlefield, Two half-step grotto heaven powerhouses were killed by Wu Dao's main body with 2 punches, causing many true demons to change color. The group of demons finally woke up from their greed. As if they had woken up from a dream, they realized just what kind of terrifying existence they had provoked. Even a half-step grotto heaven powerhouse couldn't take a punch from him. Who else could? Everyone's lives were in Araki Takashi's hands. Whoosh! Lingxiao Palace, the 7 heaven-level demon sects, and more than 100 true demons instantly scattered and fled in all directions. You want to run? Wu Dao's main body had already locked onto the few demon sect young masters. Whoosh! The young master of Acheron Mountain Villa didn't escape far before Wu Dao's main body caught up and killed him with 1 punch, taking away the black map fragment. Wu Dao's main body didn't stop. In the blink of an eye, he arrived behind the young master of Divine Demon Ridge and punched without saying a word. Bang! The punch hit the center of the young master's back. The young master of Divine Demon Ridge was smashed into pieces by Wu Dao's main body, and the black map fragment was obtained. Wu Dao's main body's figure flashed on the battlefield. Every time he attacked, there would be blood. The young masters of the various demon sects were scared out of their wits and guts. It was a little late, but it was still yesterday's update. The main thing was that he repeatedly changed a few details and dragged it until now. End of chapter. Chapter 2530. Finally, a demonic sect young master reacted. He threw the black map fragment on the ground and fled. Wu Dao's true body glanced at him and picked up the black map fragment. He did not chase after him. When the young master of the heavenly evil sect saw this, his entire body trembled. He hurriedly threw down the black map fragment and fled. He wanted to use this to save his life. Unfortunately, Wu Dao's true body did not give him the chance. He caught up with him in a few steps and killed him with a punch. Just now, this person had diverted the disaster outside the demon's lair, wanting to use Towering Palace to deal with Wu Dao's true self. Wu Dao's true body did not care at that time. Now that this person came to provoke him again, he could only send him to heaven. In the blink of an eye, 4 of the 7 young masters of the demonic sects were killed. 3 of them threw down the black map fragment and successfully escaped the battlefield. The remaining true demons also fled. The group of cultivators who followed behind them didn't know what was happening inside. When they saw the true demon powerhouses from Towering Palace and Black Demon Sect fleeing in panic, they also panicked and retreated. A strange scene appeared in the demonic cave. Most of the cultivators did not know what was going on. When they saw the chaos in front, they hurriedly fled. Run! A half-step grotto heaven realm expert died down there. What's going on? Who killed him? I'm not sure. It seems like some terrifying creature has appeared. Not good. A terrifying creature has emerged from the depths of the earth and is about to unleash a massacre. In the chaos, the news became more and more ridiculous. Later on, when many cultivators escaped from the demonic cave, there were all kinds of rumors. Millions of terrifying creatures have awakened underground and are eating human flesh. Oh no, I heard that a demon emperor has awakened. He opened his coffin and started a massacre. When the tens of millions of devil cultivators outside saw the entrance of the devil cave, they panicked and fled. They screamed and screamed, giving the cultivators outside a fright. Your Highness, retreat first. The true demons protected Imperial Sun Ling Xian as they retreated. When Lingxiao Palace moved, the Black Demon Sect and the other demonic sects also retreated. As for the other sects, they did not dare to hesitate and hurriedly retreated. Don't panic. In midair, the void was torn apart, and more than 20 figures appeared. They descended, emitting an enormous pressure as they overlooked the world. More than 20 Grotto Heaven Realm Demon Kings. What nonsense are you all talking about? Towering Palace's Demon King Song Kong looked around with a cold gaze and snorted. The demon emperor buried here has been dead for tens of millions of years. Even a great emperor wouldn't be able to live that long. Demon King Song Kong was the peerless demon king of Towering Palace. This time, there were 7 demon kings from Lingxiao Palace. Among the 7, there were 2 peerless demon kings. As for the 7 great heaven-level demonic sects, 2 or 3 demon kings had arrived. Among them, the patriarch of the Black Demon sect, the Dark Sky Demon God, the Manor Lord of Acheron, the Lord of the Divine Demon Ridge, and the sect master of the Wind Demon sect. The 4 peerless demon kings who had dealt with Araki Takashi before also appeared here. Naturally, the demon king's temperament, vision, knowledge far surpassed the other demons present. The tomb of the demon emperor had been sealed for tens of millions of years. It would be normal if there were some otherworldly soldiers and ghosts. However, it was impossible for there to be any living beings. Not long after, the true demons of Towering Palace, the 7 great demonic sects, and the 3 young masters escaped from the back. The Dark Sky Demon God, the patriarch of the Heavenly Evil sect, and the others did not see the figures of their young masters. Gradually, they felt that something was amiss and their expressions darkened. "What's going on?" Ling Xian hurried forward and asked. "What happened inside?" A Towering Palace true demon was still fearful as he panted and said, "Araki Takashi was the first to rush in and snatched all the treasures before anyone else. Who knows how many treasures there were in the 2 halls in succession, and they were all taken by that person." Duan Ming, Song Shi and a few other young masters of the Fiend sects couldn't take it, and went up to reason with him, who knew that he would suddenly go on a killing spree, and was killed by Duan Ming and Song Shi with 2 punches. 2 punches? Ling Xian narrowed his eyes and his pupils constricted. The Dark Sky Demon God, the patriarch of the Acheron Manor, and the other peerless demon kings exchanged glances, and the same thought flashed through their minds. This Araki Takashi was much stronger than before. The true demon looked at the Dark Sky Demon God and the others before continuing. The young masters of the Black Fiend sect, Acheron Manor, God Fiend Ridge, and Heavenly Evil sect were all killed by Araki Takashi. Araki Takashi, the gazes of the Dark Sky Demon God, and the other demon kings were cold. Indeed, they were wary of Bo Sun. However, who wouldn't be tempted by the countless treasures buried beneath the lair? Furthermore, if Araki Takashi was truly killed beneath the lair, even Bo Sun might not know who did it. This Devil Emperor's great tomb blocked off all senses. Even their divine sense was unable to probe inside. "Are there any other dangers down there?" The demon king of the Lingxiao Palace, Song Kong, asked in a low voice. No, the path was smooth. There were no traps, or puppets. That's why Araki Takashi was able to snatch the treasures without hesitation. The true demon hurriedly answered. "Araki Takashi is arrogant. He's gone too far." Hearing that Duan Ming and Song Shi, the 2 half-step Grotto Heaven experts, had died, Ling Xian's killing intent towards Wu Dao's original body intensified. He said slowly, "Since there are no dangers down there, there's no need for you to hold back. Follow me into the tomb and hunt down Araki Takashi." "All right." Song Kong and the others did not hesitate and agreed. Other than protecting Ling Xian, they had another goal in mind. They also wanted to find some fortuitous opportunities in the tomb. If they could break through and form a complete Grotto Heaven, they would be one step closer to the Divine Emperor realm. Ling Xian stared at the lair and gritted his teeth. "Araki Takashi, today, I'll let you know who's the boss in the demon domain." With a wave of his hand, Song Kong and the other demon kings of Lingxiao Palace surrounded him and entered the lair together. The Dark Sky Demon, Villa Master Acheron, Lord of Divine Demon Ridge, Sect Master of Wind Demon Sect, and more than 10 other demon kings did not hesitate and entered the lair. After a while, some of the demon kings who were wandering outside the lair finally could not hold back and followed in. Then the demon kings swarmed in again. In the depths of the lair, Wu Dao's original body collected the 7 black map fragments and the storage bags on the ground. He glanced at them casually and put them away. The treasures in these storage bags were not worthy of his attention. He was prepared to return to the Heaven Baron sect and put these treasures in the sect. His gaze landed on the 7 black map fragments. Among all the treasures, the only thing that piqued his interest was the 7 black map fragments. Strangely enough, when he gathered the 7 black map fragments together, the 7 map fragments actually stuck together by themselves, without any difference. Chapter 2531. Of course, after the 7 black pieces of the map were connected together, the map still looked incomplete, and there were still some gaps. Wu Dao's true body's heart skipped a beat, and he took out the black incomplete map from his storage bag. Without him needing to control it, the black incomplete map seemed to have a mind of its own and left his hands on its own, connecting with the 7 black incomplete maps. This incomplete map looked almost complete, as if it was still missing a corner. There were blood-colored marks drawn on the map. Wu Dao's true body observed it carefully. It looked like a map of the gigantic tomb beneath the fiend's lair. Furthermore, the map seemed to be pointing to a certain spot in the underground tomb, intentionally guiding him there. He was in no hurry and walked around the fiend's lair, passing by a few more palaces. As expected, the many treasures placed in the palace were all swept clean by someone. This traitor of Towering Palace sure has a huge appetite. Wu Dao's true body lamented internally. Before long, Wu Dao's ears twitched. He sensed a terrifying and powerful aura coming from behind him. It seemed that many experts were rushing in his direction. If he was not wrong, it should be the group of people from Towering Palace making a comeback. This time round, if they dared to return, there must be a Grotto Heaven Realm Fiend King following them. Wu Dao's true body frowned slightly. Given his current combat strength, it would be difficult for him to gain an advantage against a Fiend King, even one with a Grotto Heaven. Wu Dao's true body followed the map and moved, preparing to avoid the group of people and head to the left. All of a sudden, he heard the laughter of a young girl beside his ears. It was pleasing to the ears and seemed to possess a bewitching charm that caused one's heart to palpitate and be immersed in it unknowingly. Wu Dao's true body's Dao heart was as firm as a rock and could not be shaken. Under normal circumstances, bewitching techniques as such could not affect him at all. However, when he heard that laughter, his heart skipped a beat. SL*T, it's you. Ling Xian's voice suddenly rose, containing an endless amount of anger. Young master, I know my mistake. Can you not be so fierce? The young girl's voice sounded filled with grievance. Many cultivators couldn't see this young girl from behind, but in front of them, it was as if a pitiful young girl was crying and begging. A sense of pity and sympathy rose in the hearts of the demons. They even wanted to step forward and protect this young girl at all costs. You really know your mistake? Ling Xian's tone suddenly softened, but he still seemed to be on guard. Your Highness, don't be bewitched by this witch. Wake up, wake up. Song Kong pressed his finger against Ling Xian's forehead and shouted. This voice contained the holy power of the Buddhist sect, and it was like a stick hitting the head. Ling Xian shuddered and his eyes regained clarity. Demon King Song Kong said, Your Highness, be careful. This demoness has inherited her demonic arts from an ancient emperor and can bewitch one's heart. You must guard your Dao heart and not allow yourself to be bewitched. Ling Xian quickly nodded. His apocalyptic demon diagram had been taken away by this woman in a daze. By the time he reacted, it was already too late. Hee. The young girl chuckled and said mockingly, Ling Xian, you're so stupid. You want to be my Dao companion with that little bit of ability of yours? Even if you carry my shoes, I'll think you're too stupid. Little B***TCH, Ling Xian cursed. When I catch you, I'll torture you day and night and show you what I'm capable of. You. The young girl was disdainful and spat. Look at how weak your steps are. You must be a silver spear. For some reason, Ling Xian did not feel angry at being insulted in such a manner. Instead, a ball of evil fire rose in his heart, and he felt his blood boil and his mouth dry up. In his heart, it was as if Araki Takeshi, the treasures of the demon's lair, and the fortuitous encounters were no longer important. Right now, he only wanted to capture this demoness. Hee, come and chase me. The young girl chuckled again, and seemed to be running in a direction. Chase, Ling Xian panted slightly and said. Chase after her, but do not kill her. Your Highness, be careful of traps. A demon king reminded. She's a 5th level immortal. What traps can she have? Ling Xian sneered. With you 7 demon kings here, what's there to be afraid of? I don't believe that she can escape from me today. Demon King Song Kong frowned and asked. Then what about Araki Takashi? Ignore him. Ling Xian waved his hand impatiently and said, Let's catch this B*th first. The 7 immortal kings looked at each other, and could only protect Ling Xian, and chase in the direction the young girl left. In the palace not far away, Wu Dao's original body listened to the young girl's voice, and suddenly, a strange young girl flashed in front of him. She had bright eyes and white teeth, and she was beautiful and flawless. Demoness Ji. After ascending for so many years, he finally met an old friend of Tian Huang in the demonic realm. Under the silver mask, Wu Dao's original body smiled. Demoness Ji was perhaps his greatest gain from this trip. Whether it was because of their relationship on Tian Huang, or because of Yao Shui, he would do his best to protect Demoness Ji, and not let her come to any harm. Wu Dao's original body moved and followed. Dark Sky Demon, Acheron, and the other immortal kings hesitated and did not immediately follow. They were about to spread out and look for opportunities. But suddenly, the expressions of Dark Sky Demon and the others changed. They noticed that Wu Dao's true self had walked past them openly. He ignored them and chased after the people from Towering Palace. Araki Takashi, Dark Sky Demon, Acheron, and the other immortal kings looked at each other and were filled with murderous intent. Go chase after him. Dark Sky Demon and the others bellowed. As demon kings, they were invincible here, and no one could threaten them. Naturally, they had nothing to worry about. In the blink of an eye, Wu Dao's original body caught up with Ling Xian and the others. At the same time, Dark Sky Demon and the other demon kings also caught up. This kind of formation was equivalent to over 20 Fiend King powerhouses, blocking the martial Dao true body in the middle. There was no way out at all. Araki Takashi, you've got guts. How dare you show yourself after killing the young masters of several demon sects? Dark Sky Demon said faintly. Ling Xian and the 7 immortal kings of Ling Shao Palace heard this voice and turned to look. They happened to see Wu Dao's original body. Ling Xian's eyes narrowed and he was overjoyed. You're courting death. Kill him. A demon king of Ling Shao Palace, who was at the initial Grotto Heaven realm, stood out and rushed towards Wu Dao's original body. With a flip of his hand, he pressed down on the top of Wu Dao's original body's head. Dark Sky Demon was about to attack personally, but he suddenly thought of Emperor Bo's son and had scruples. You go. The Dark Sky Demon said to the other demon king beside him. This demon king was also at the initial Grotto Heaven realm. When he heard Dark Sky Demon's order, he did not hesitate and rushed forward. Dark Sky Demon had thought it through. Even if Emperor Bo's son really wanted to come for revenge, he could hand this person over. At the same time, the Yellow Springs Manor, Divine Fiend Ridge, and Heavenly Evil Sect also sent out 3 devil kings at the initial stage of the Grotto Heaven realm. In the blink of an eye, Wu Dao's original body was pincered by 5 demon kings. Chapter 2532. The Fiend King of Lingxiao Palace was the first to arrive. Against the attack of the Fiend King, Wu Dao's true body did not dare to be careless. However, the Fiend King did not release his Grotto Heaven right away. He was not the only one. The 4 Fiend Kings behind him did not release their Grotto Heavens as well. It was not that the 5 of them were being arrogant on purpose. However, a Fiend King could crush a true fiend to death with a single finger. Furthermore, there were 5 Fiend Kings attacking at the same time. If they released their Grotto Heavens right away, it would seem like they were making a fuss instead. Even in a fight between Grotto Heaven realm experts, they would rarely release their Grotto Heavens right away, let alone a true fiend. Wu Dao's true body's eyes shone brightly when he sensed that opening. For him, the only thing that could not be taken head-on was the Grotto Heavens of king-level experts. After all, Grotto Heavens were the crystallization of the Dao techniques of king-level experts. Grotto Heavens had completely surpassed the true self realm, and were at another level. They were the strongest methods of king-level experts. If a lesser mastery Grotto Heaven realm Fiend King did not release his Grotto Heavens, and wanted to kill him in melee combat. That would be wishful thinking on his part. Wu Dao valued unearthing his own potential. The foundation of all dharmic formulations and realms was to constantly strengthen oneself and treat one's body as heaven and earth without external help. Therefore, at the true self realm, the immortal Buddhist and fiend Daos would condense a Dao fruit. However, Wu Dao's true body condensed a Dao body. The profoundness and true essence of his Dao techniques were all fused into the true Wu Dao's body, fusing into every inch of his flesh and bones. Even though the fiend kings had grotto heavens to nourish their bodies, they could not defend against the true Wu Dao's body of Wu Dao's true body. Against the attacks of the 5 fiend kings, Wu Dao's true body did not dodge. Instead, he channeled his blood qi and counterattacked with the rumbling sound of a tsunami. In that instant, he released 5 punches in succession and clashed head-on with the 5 fiend kings. "You must have a death wish," the fiend king of Lingxiao Palace sneered. The fiend king of Black Fiend sect had a disdainful expression as he pursed his lips. A desperate struggle of a trapped beast. Boom! The 5 demon kings collided with the fist of Wu Dao's original body. The interval between the collision was extremely short, and only a single sound was heard. The 5 of them shuddered, and their eyes widened in disbelief. Their arms were already numb from the punch. Furthermore, the 5 demon kings felt an unimaginable surge of godly power surging into their bodies through their arms, causing their organs to tremble. Pooh! Towering Palace's demon king suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Of course, this kind of injury wasn't considered serious for an immortal king. But before he could react, Wu Dao's main body had already arrived in front of him. 2 consecutive punches came crashing down like a mountain, unstoppable. Bang! Bang! Towering Palace's demon king could only raise his arms to block upwards. But his arms were broken by Wu Dao's true body's 2 punches, and his middle gate was broken. The 3rd punch landed heavily on the top of his head. Bang! The demon king of Lingxiao Palace shuddered. His eyes were glazed over, and his expression was one of shock. Then his pupils dilated, and the life force in his body rapidly drained away. However, the top of his head was still intact. However, his consciousness had already been shattered by Wu Dao's true body's punch. His essence spirit was not spared either, and was destroyed on the spot. A total of 4 punches, and a towering palace demon king was killed by Wu Dao's true body on the spot. When the 4 demon kings behind him saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically. The 4 of them did not have time to think. Just as they were about to summon their grotto heavens, Wu Dao's true body suddenly opened his mouth and released the sound of all spirits' mystic technique. Roar! Instantly, the roars of dragons, tigers, phoenixes, cranes, wolves, dogs, apes and horses could be heard in the tunnel. In an instant, it was as if billions of living beings were roaring at the same time. As Wu Dao's true body improved, the power of the sound of all spirits increased as well. Furthermore, it was difficult for the sound of all spirits to spread out in such a relatively sealed tunnel. Instead, it echoed continuously in the tunnel, causing its power to increase greatly. Although it couldn't injure the Grotto Heaven Realm demon kings present, it caused their minds to shake, and they were stunned for a moment. In this moment of shock, Wu Dao's true body took advantage of the situation to rush in front of the Black Demon Sect's demon king. He punched out and struck the other party's face. The Black Demon Sect's demon king was sent flying by Wu Dao's true body. His face was a bloody mess, and his essence spirit was destroyed. He died on the spot. The other 3 demon kings quickly regained their senses. They didn't dare to hesitate any longer. They summoned their grotto heavens, wanting to borrow the power of their grotto heavens to kill Wu Dao's true body. However, just as the 3 demon kings released their grotto heavens, before they could form, they suddenly collapsed and vanished. The 3 demon kings paled. Grotto heavens were the ultimate methods of a king-level powerhouse, their strongest trump card. Yet the 3 of them had failed to release it. With this slight delay, Wu Dao's true body attacked again. He aimed at the demon king of Divine Fiend Ridge, and punched out 3 times in a row. All of them were blocked by the demon king of Divine Fiend Ridge. Wu Dao's true body took a deep breath, and erupted once more. He punched out 7 times in a row. His attacks were fierce and dense like rain, suffocating everyone. The demon king of Divine Fiend Ridge didn't even have the chance to summon his grotto heavens. He was beaten to death by Wu Dao's true body under 10 punches. Of course, the remaining 2 demon kings had also successfully escaped. Their expressions were uncertain. What's going on? Ling Xian and the others heard the commotion behind them and hurriedly turned back. They happened to see Wu Dao's true body counterattacking and killing 3 demon kings in a row. The demon kings in front and behind were all shocked and in disbelief. A true demon had crossed a major realm and killed 3 Grotto Heaven Realm demon kings. Even if the demon kings present couldn't summon their Grotto Heavens, their physical strength was enough to kill all true demons. However, the scene just now had a huge psychological impact on the demon kings. A true demon's physical body can be cultivated to such a level, comparable to a demon king? His Dao technique is a little strange. It doesn't seem to be the same as ours. What's going on? We can't even release our secret techniques down here. Could it be that we can only rely on our physical body and bloodline to fight in close combat? Realizing the strangeness of this place, the demon kings didn't dare to act rashly and started discussing secretly. The tomb of the demon emperor has remnants of Dao techniques that haven't dissipated after thousands of years. It's reasonable for there to be all sorts of restrictions. Demon King Song Kong frowned and said in a low voice. However, I've never seen a tomb like this that can restrict the release of Grotto Heavens. Your Highness, I suggest we leave this place immediately and plan our next move. After thinking for a while, Demon King Song Kong felt uneasy and couldn't help but say. Ling Xian snorted coldly. That *TCH only has one apocalyptic demon painting, and she dares to walk around here casually. You have a complete apocalyptic demon painting. What are you afraid of? Even if you can't release your Grotto Heavens, with your mastery of the Grotto Heaven realm, can't you defeat Araki Takashi? It's hard to say, Demon King Song Kong muttered to himself. Seeing that Ling Xian wasn't willing to give up, he didn't insist. The way he saw it, even if something unexpected happened, he could protect himself with his strength. Dark Sky Demon, and the others' faces darkened. This time, not only did they fail to kill Wu Dao's original body, they also lost a demon king. To the demon sects, every demon king could raise their power level by a level. Who would have thought that they would suffer such a huge setback in the hands of Wu Dao's original body? Chapter 2533. Normally speaking, it was difficult for one to die after reaching the Grotto Heaven realm. With Wu Dao's original body's abilities, even if he used all his trump cards, and even brought out the prison-suppressing cauldron, he could only defeat them in close combat. It was impossible for him to kill 3 demon kings in a row. However, it was far too strange below the cave. Not only were they unable to use their secret techniques, even the Grotto Heavens of the demon kings were suppressed, and they could not be released. This caused the combat strength of the 3 demon kings to decrease greatly, and they were killed by Wu Dao's original body. The death of the 3 demon kings caused the entire place to fall into a temporary silence. Dark Sky Demon and the others were not sure if there were any other strange things in this tomb, and they did not dare to act recklessly. Let's capture that *TCH first. Don't let her escape, Ling Xian said in a low voice. Demon King Song Kong and the other 5 continued to protect him as they sped forward. Wu Dao's original body picked up the storage pouches of the 3 demon kings and followed. Dark Sky Demon and the other demon kings exchanged glances with dark expressions, but did not speak. However, since they were already here, it was not good for them to retreat. The demon kings followed as well. In this tomb tunnel a strange formation was formed. The 7 people from Towering Palace charged ahead, while martial arts' true self followed behind them at a distance that was neither too far nor too close. Behind him, there were more than 10 demon kings. The 3 forces coexisted peacefully in this tomb tunnel. After a while, there was a faint light ahead. They had arrived at the end of the tomb tunnel. Demon King Song Kong and the others rushed out of the tomb tunnel, and their eyes widened. Looking at the scene before him, his entire body trembled. Even Song Kong and the other demon kings gasped slightly. Their expressions were shaken, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. There was a gigantic ancient city before them that stood tall in the depths of the ground. Like a gigantic monster, it stared at the group of cultivators who were charging in. This ancient city was majestic, and even surpassed many of the ancient immortal cities on the surface. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, it would be hard to imagine that such an ancient building existed in the depths of the ground. Everyone realized that this ancient city was extremely likely to be the core of this Devil Emperor's great tomb. The real treasure, the opportunity, and the inheritance should be in this ancient city. Everyone's spirits were lifted, and their eyes burned with passion. Right then, a beautiful figure flashed past the walls of the ancient city. It was Demoness Ji. Go! Ling Xian could not wait any longer, and rushed towards the ancient city. Demon King Song Kong and the others stood guard at the side. Wu Dao's true body, Dark Sky Demon God, and the other demon kings followed closely behind. In the blink of an eye, they arrived at the entrance of the ancient city. What was strange was that on both sides of the city gate, there were 2 rows of humanoid clay guards holding clay spears. On top of the city walls, there were also many clay guards. They were densely packed and did not move at all. Some of them were holding bows and arrows as they guarded the top of the city walls. Some of them formed teams of 10,000 people, and they seemed to be patrolling the city walls. They appeared to be in good order and heavily guarded. What the hell is this? Ling Xian passed by and wanted to smash a mud man into pieces. However, he was stopped by Song Kong. Your Highness, don't act rashly. This ancient city looks a little strange. Demon King Song Kong had a guarded expression as he said in a low voice, "Everyone be careful." Wu Dao's true body ignored them and walked past the people from Lingxiao Palace and entered the ancient city. Seeing that Wu Dao's true body did not encounter any danger, Ling Xian's group, the Dark Sky Demon God, and the other demon kings also moved and rushed into the ancient city. Within the ancient city, there were all sorts of buildings. It looked no different from the immortal cities on the ground. However, the streets of the ancient city were empty and deserted. Other than groups of clay guards, there was no one else in sight. Along the way, the ancient city was filled with clay guards. Just in their line of sight, there were already more than 100,000 of them. As expected of the world devastator demon emperor, a demon king from Lingxiao Palace exclaimed, even after his death, he still built such an ancient city in the tomb and created so many clay guards. Even after his death, he still commanded the army of thousands of demons. Demon King Song Kong suddenly frowned, as if he thought of something. Just then, a round of applause came from a group of 10,000 patrolling clay guards. How smart! Demoness Ji's voice rang among the clay guards with a hint of mockery. However, do you think that these are just clay guards? Snap! Suddenly, a sound could be heard from among the clay guards, as though something had shattered. Crack! 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 Immediately after, the sound became more frequent and spread through all the clay guards and the entire ancient city. Under the gazes of the crowd, cracks appeared on the mud on the bodies of the guards. The mud fell off one after another, revealing the guards who were still alive. Of course, there were no signs of life in the bodies of those guards. However, the weapons in their hands were sharp and cold after removing the clay. The eyes of those guards were filled with madness as they glared at the intruders with murderous intent. Otherworldly soldiers with flesh and blood? Ling Xian frowned slightly. These are not otherworldly soldiers, Demon King Song Kong said sternly. Even if otherworldly horses have flesh and blood, they are incomplete and can't be preserved to such a complete state. Back then, these people were all alive. They were sealed in clay statues by the world devastator demon emperor, with a supreme secret technique, for tens of millions of years, until they were awakened today. After tens of millions of years, it was only natural that those guards were long dead. Right now, the only thing that was controlling them was the last trace of consciousness left in their minds by the world devastator demon emperor. Destruction, war, killing. Hearing Demon King Song Kong's words, everyone shuddered and felt their hair stand on end. There were at least a few million guards in this ancient city, and there might even be tens of millions of them. However, back then, the world devastator demon emperor sealed his army of tens of millions of demons and buried them alive as burial items for tens of millions of years. Chapter 2534. After he said that, the fiend King Song Kong closed his eyes and sensed everything around him. Over there. Suddenly, the fiend King Song Kong opened his eyes, and his gaze intensified. Boom! Waving his sleeves, the fiend King Song Kong sent the ancient city guards before him tumbling, and a wide passageway appeared. At the end of the passageway, Demoness Ji dodged behind an ancient city guard with a flustered expression. Even though she was escaping in a wretched manner, to everyone, Demoness Ji's figure was lithe and graceful. Even though she was escaping, she was breathtaking. Wu Dao's true body's heart skipped a beat. Demoness Ji's movement technique gave him a sense of déjà vu. Back when he condensed the true Wu Dao's body and attracted the true martial heavenly tribulation, an extremely powerful phantom appeared in the 10th tribulation. Among them, there was a white-robed woman wielding a sword. She was enchanting and charming, and her movement technique was almost the same as Demoness Ji's. Seems like Demoness Ji has obtained quite a number of opportunities in the fiend domain over the years as well. Wu Dao's true body lamented internally. Among the many old friends of Tianhuang mainland who had ascended, the person he was least worried about was actually Demoness Ji. Given her capabilities, it was extremely difficult for others to take advantage of her. It would be good enough if they were not toyed with in the palms of her hands. Spirit consciousnesses could not be used below the fiend lair. Coupled with the fact that the ancient city guards had been awakened and were charging towards this place in a huge commotion, the fiend King Song Kong and the others lost track of Demoness Ji. Searching for a single person in an army of 10 million was akin to searching for a needle in a haystack. However, the fiend King Song Kong was certain that Demoness Ji would not have gone far. The reason why she lured everyone here was so that she could make use of the fiend army here to deal damage to everyone from Lingxiao Palace. Out of a unique mentality, she would most likely be observing his masterpiece from a hidden spot nearby. That was the reason why the fiend King Song Kong said that Demoness Ji was definitely dead. His goal was to expose Demoness Ji. Demoness Ji was extremely smart as well. Although she was indignant, she quickly realized that this was a bait by the fiend King Song Kong, and that was the reason why she did not make a move. Unfortunately, when she heard Demon King Song Kong's words, her heart still wavered slightly. Demon King Song Kong immediately noticed her heartbeat, and he immediately made a move, exposing her to the eyes of the crowd. The psychological battle between the two seemed to be short, but it was extremely intense. They tested each other and made guesses. In the end, Demon King Song Kong came out on top. Which you are still too inexperienced. Demon King Song Kong looked at Demoness Ji, who was not far away, and a trace of mockery flashed across his eyes. In a flash, Demoness Ji hid within the army of guards. But strangely enough, none of the guards attacked her. Instead, they were fearless and continued charging at Towering Palace, Dark Sky Demon, and the others. Humph, you still want to escape? Ling Xian snickered. Demon King Song Kong and the others chased after them. Demoness Ji's figure was exposed and locked onto by the 6 fiend kings of Lingxiao Palace. It was impossible for her to escape even if she wanted to. Demoness Ji. At this moment, a call rang out in the chaotic ancient city. Demoness Ji shuddered and froze on the spot with disbelief flashing through her beautiful eyes. This title, how could this be? Could it be? Demoness Ji turned around and saw a purple-robed man striding over. Although the purple-robed man was wearing a silver mask, Demoness Ji recognized his identity right away when she saw his eyes. She bit her lips gently and her eyes reddened with tears. In the blink of an eye, Wu Dao's true body had already arrived before her. At this moment it felt like a dream. "Why are you here, you bookworm?" Demoness Ji's voice was quivering with a hint of sobbing. "I'm here to bring you home," Wu Dao's true body said gently. When she heard that, Demoness Ji could no longer hold it in and burst into tears. Right now, her mind was blank and she merely wanted to cry. Back in Tianhuang mainland, she was the pure maiden of the fiend sex and cultivated the pure maiden sutra to charm all living beings. She rarely revealed her true emotions. Be it anger, joy, or sadness, it was all an act. She had only revealed her true emotions in front of a few people, and Su Zimo was one of them. In that short period of time, the remaining 6 demon kings of Lingxiao Palace had already cleared the ancient city guards in the surroundings and surrounded Wu Dao's true body and Demoness Ji. When he saw Demoness Ji's expression, his heart burned with jealousy as he grit his teeth. So this adulterous couple knows each other. That's great. Kill the man and leave the SL*T alive. Under the silver mask, Wu Dao's true body's expression turned cold, and his gaze was sinister. "Let's run." Demoness Ji tugged at the wrist of Wu Dao's true body, wanting to find an opportunity to burrow into the endless ancient city guards and hide their tracks. However, when she tugged at Wu Dao's true body, he did not budge. "That Ling Xian bullied you before, right?" Suddenly Wu Dao's true body asked. "Huh?" Demoness Ji turned back and looked at Wu Dao's true body with misty eyes in confusion. Wu Dao's true body said indifferently, "Wait for me here for a moment. I'll go kill him." "I don't." Demoness Ji was shocked and wiped away the tears in her eyes casually, saying hurriedly, "No, that dumb donkey is so stupid that he was fooled by me. Even a treasure map that he kept for many years was tricked by me. If someone hadn't reminded him, he wouldn't have known that he was tricked by me for so many years." Demoness Ji was afraid that Wu Dao's true body would rush up to fight for her in a moment of impulse. After all, apart from the Emperor Ling Xian, Lingxiao Palace had 6 other demon kings present. Among them, 2 were peerless demon kings. Demoness Ji had long heard about Wu Dao's true body. According to her understanding, Wu Dao's true body was only a true demon and could not fight against a demon king. "Let's hurry and leave. Ignore him," Demoness Ji urged again. When Ling Xian heard Demoness Ji's words, his face flushed red, and he was enraged as he hollered, "Be*Tsich, you're still thinking of leaving?" Wu Dao's true body removed Demoness Ji's hand. "Even if he calls you a Be*Tch, I won't allow it." The moment he said that, Wu Dao's true body stomped heavily on the ground. With a loud bang, the ground quaked. The entire magnificent ancient city seemed to be trembling, as if a huge earthquake was taking place. Chapter 2535. Swoosh. The blood chi of the 2 fiend kings beside him surged, and the sound of a tsunami echoed from their bodies as they charged towards Wu Dao's true body. Rumble. Boom. The bloodline of Wu Dao's true body rumbled as though a volcano was erupting within his body. His blood chi surged, and a gigantic furnace with raging flames appeared around him, as though it wanted to incinerate everything in the world. Supreme Mystic Skill, Heaven and Earth Furnace. Mystic skills and skills could not be used in the fiend's lair. However, the supreme mystic skill of Wu Dao's true body was a bloodline phenomenon to begin with, and was not restricted in the slightest. The moment he attacked, Wu Dao's true body released his full strength. He wanted to kill Ling Xian while being surrounded by 6 fiend kings. Boom! Wu Dao's true body punched out with his left hand and collided with the fiend king at lesser mastery of the Grotto Heaven realm. The fiend king shuddered as he felt a shocking force. He was sent flying by Wu Dao's true body and spat out blood. Just now, in the tomb tunnel, Wu Dao's true body killed a Grotto Heaven realm fiend king with 4 punches, without using his bloodline phenomenon. Now that he was augmented by his bloodline phenomenon, his strength had increased exponentially, and the fiend king of Lingxiao Palace could not defend against it at all. Bang! Wu Dao's true body punched out with his right hand and clashed head-on with the peerless fiend king Lutsong. When Lutsong saw Wu Dao's true body charging over menacingly and sending a fiend king flying with a single punch, he did not dare to be careless and released his bloodline phenomenon. As the two of them clashed with their fists, their bloodline phenomenons collided and devoured one another. After all, Lutsong was a peerless fiend king who had nurtured his physique and bloodline for many years with his grotto heaven realm. He was far stronger than ordinary fiend kings and could defend against the ferocious power of Wu Dao's true body. The gaze of Wu Dao's true body intensified as he took another step forward and punched out once more. Good timing. Lutsong hollered as well and punched out without retreating at all. Right at this moment, a bronze square cauldron suddenly flew out from between the brows of Wu Dao's main body, and it was suffused with an ancient and heavy aura. Before Wu Dao's true body could finish his punch, he suddenly changed his move and turned his fist into a palm. He grabbed the bronze square cauldron and smashed it down with Demon King Lutsong's fist. You! Demon King Lutsong widened his eyes and hurriedly released his Dharma treasure. Unfortunately, he was still a step too late. Crack! Although his physical body was strong, it could not withstand the prison-suppressing cauldron's brute force. Accompanied by the sound of bones cracking, Demon King Lutsong's entire arm was smashed apart by the hell-suppressing cauldron, revealing bone fragments that were still attached to flesh. It was a shocking sight. Demon King Lutsong was a peerless demon king and was proud of his status. When he saw that Wu Dao was bare-handed, he naturally did not take out his Dharma treasure immediately. However, Wu Dao's main body had no intention of tangling with him. If he was delayed by Demon King Lutsong, there would be 4 more demon kings behind him. It would be extremely difficult for him to kill Ling Xian. The Martial Wei's original intention was to defeat these 2 demon kings and kill the imperial son, Ling Xian. Demon King Lutsong's arm was broken by the prison-suppressing cauldron, and he hurriedly retreated. This retreat completely exposed Ling Xian. Hiss! Ling Xian's face changed color. He finally realized that even with 6 demon kings by his side, he was still in great danger. Whoosh! 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 Song Kong and the other demon kings quickly took out their heavenly treasures and attacked Wu Dao's main body. There seemed to be a mysterious glow surging within the flames that contained some sort of Dao technique and runes. Those wounds were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. By the time Wu Dao's main body arrived in front of the 4 demon kings, his injuries were already more than half healed. Bang! 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 With a ferocious aura, Wu Dao's main body raised the prison-suppressing cauldron and smashed it down towards the 4 demon kings in an incomparably ferocious manner. Initially, the 4 demon kings could have had the absolute advantage if they joined forces. However, against the frenzied attacks of Wu Dao's main body, the 4 of them could not help but feel weak. After all, 3 demon kings died in the hands of Wu Dao's main body in the tomb earlier on. Now that their prince was dead, the 4 demon kings were flustered and Wu Dao's main body found an opportunity to break through their obstructions and return to Demoness Ji's side. Dark Heaven's fiend god and the others could not help but click their tongues when they saw that Araki Takashi was way too ferocious. Under the protection of the 6 demon kings, the crown prince was killed. At that moment, Dark Heaven's fiend god and the others were relieved. If nothing went wrong, Fiend Emperor Ling Xiao would definitely be alarmed by the death of their prince. At that time, Fiend Emperor Ling Xiao would take revenge for his son and kill Araki Takashi, without them even having to do anything. If Emperor Lord Bo Sun, who was backing Araki Takashi, was alarmed, and Araki Takashi was lucky enough to survive, that would be fine as well. Once the Fiend Emperor was born and they fought, there would definitely be a bloodbath in the Fiend territory. That would be the best opportunity for them to rise in the chaos. Chapter 2536. When Demoness Ji saw that Wu Dao's true body managed to kill Ling Xian and return alive, she was both surprised and delighted. Wu Dao's true body summoned the hell-suppressing cauldron and attempted to break through the space here, wanting to bring Demoness Ji back to the Avicii Hell. However, when the hell-suppressing cauldron collided with the void, it merely created a ripple and failed to break through the void to create a tunnel to the Avicii hell. Wu Dao's true body was calm towards this scene and was not surprised at all. Actually, when he saw that the demon kings could not maintain their grotto heavens in the tomb, he guessed that he would most likely not be able to teleport out of this place. To be precise, any spatial techniques would not be able to be released in this fiend's lair. He vaguely thought of a possibility. However, the situation was critical, and the two of them were not out of danger yet. He did not have time to think, and could only escape with Demoness G first. There were still 6 demon kings from Lingxiao Palace, and more than 10 from Black Fiend Sect, and the other fiend sections. If they joined forces, he could protect himself with the hell-suppressing cauldron, but he would not be able to protect Demoness G. That way, Demoness G was extremely smart and reacted quickly, pointing to the depths of the ancient city. Wu Dao's true body did not reply. Extending his arm, he gently wrapped it around Demoness G's slender waist and sped forward. Although Demoness G's movement technique was exquisite, she was far inferior to him in terms of speed. Strangely enough, the ancient city guards ignored Wu Dao's true body and charged towards the demon kings from Lingxiao Palace and the 7 fiend sects instead. Wu Dao's true body thought about it and guessed a possibility. Both he and Demoness G had the black incomplete diagram on them. That was the reason why the ancient city guards did not attack them. The 6 demon kings from Lingxiao Palace had grim expressions. Their prince was killed by a true demon under their protection. If the fiend Emperor Ling Xiao were to find out, the 6 of them might face punishment. When they saw Wu Dao's true body and Demoness G escape, Demon King Song Kong and the others did not dare to hesitate as they put away the corpse and chased after them. Now that the crown prince was dead, he could not allow Araki Takashi to leave alive. However, in the Devil Cave ancient city, they couldn't use any secret arts. They could only rely on the power of their physical body and bloodline. Thus, the group of Devil Kings couldn't catch up to Wu Dao's main body. Moreover, there were countless ancient city guards blocking the way. Demon King Song Kong had a complete world annihilation demon diagram on him, so the surrounding ancient city guards would not attack him. However, he could only barely keep up with Wu Dao's original body and not lose him. The ancient city was way too huge. Wu Dao's true body sprinted for 2 hours with Demoness G before they caught sight of a gigantic palace at the end of the ancient city. This should be the World Devastation Devil Emperor's palace. Let's hide inside, Demoness G said. Wu Dao's true body and Demoness G entered the Fiend Emperor's bedroom and looked around. They could not help but be stunned on the spot. Stepping into the bedchamber, the first thing that entered his eyes was a spacious hall. There was nothing there except for 9 open doors on the walls surrounding the hall. It was dark and deep inside, leading to unknown places. Typically speaking, given the layout of a tomb, there was only one way out among the 9 doors. There was a high chance that they would die here if they took the wrong path. For a moment, the two of them could not be certain. Demoness G said, "If only we had a complete world annihilation demon diagram. There should be some hints." What do you mean by a complete world annihilation demon diagram? Suddenly, Wu Dao's true body's heart skipped a beat and he asked. Demoness G explained, "Tens of millions of years ago, the World Devastation Devil Emperor died. It's said that when he died, his skin turned into 18 world annihilation demon diagrams that were scattered all over the Fiend region. Every single demon diagram recorded a portion of the World Annihilation Fiend Sutra. Legend has it that if you can gather all 18 demon diagrams, you'll be able to obtain the complete World Annihilation Fiend Sutra. Everyone says that the World Annihilation Fiend Sutra is comparable to a taboo secret manual. However, after so many years, no one has managed to gather all 18 demon diagrams." Wu Dao's true body frowned slightly and murmured, "There are as many as 18 complete World Annihilation demon diagrams." "Not exactly," Demoness G replied. "There are 2 sections to the World Annihilation Fiend Sutra. Once all 9 demon diagrams are gathered, a complete section will appear." 9? The eyes of Wu Dao's true body lit up. Demoness Ji did not notice the abnormality of Wu Dao's true body and took out a black incomplete diagram from her storage bag. Unfortunately, I only managed to scam one out of him. Wu Dao's true body said. What a coincidence. I have 8 with me. He had a demon diagram to begin with. Later on, when he hunted down a few young masters of the fiend sex, he obtained 7 demon diagrams and had a total of 8. Together with the demon diagram in Demoness Ji's hands, there were a total of 9. Ah! Demoness Ji exclaimed softly with a surprised expression. The moment Wu Dao's true body took out the 8 demon diagrams, the one in Demoness Ji's hands left her hands automatically and connected with the 8 demon diagrams. Unfortunately, there was no World Annihilation Fiend Sutra on them, only a series of markings that resembled a map. Demoness Ji said, I heard that Fiend Emperor Ling Xiao had 9 incomplete diagrams that formed the first section of the World Annihilation Fiend Sutra. That was also the reason why he was able to ascend to the throne. However, something happened to the incomplete diagrams this time round, and the Fiend Sutra on them disappeared. That was why Fiend Emperor Ling Xiao handed the first section to Fiend King Song Kong and had him bring people here to investigate. Looking at the markings on the 9 demon diagrams, Wu Dao's true body suddenly said, This map looks like this palace. According to the instructions on it, we should take the second palace door on the left. Demoness Ji also noticed the directions on the demon diagrams and was delighted. Let's go. Wu Dao's true body and Demoness Ji moved and charged through the second palace door on the left, disappearing before long. With the demon diagrams, Fiend King Song Kong would not be stopped by the ancient city guards and was the first to arrive. Stepping into the palace, he could not help but frown when he saw the same 9 palace doors. Chapter 2537. Song Kong, why aren't you entering? After a brief rest, Lu Tsong asked. I don't know which of the 9 palaces they entered, Song Kong replied. The first thing that came to everyone's mind was to split up and search. However, that meant that they were faced with an unavoidable problem. There was a limit to the number of people present. Once they split up, there were at most 3 fiend kings in each palace. If they encountered Araki Takashi, who was wielding the hell-suppressing tripod, they might even be killed instead. The fiend kings present were meticulous and did not express their opinions. Lu Tsong pondered for a moment and analyzed. Based on this layout, there should only be a single path out of the 9 palaces. It's fine as long as we determine which path is the right one. If Araki Takashi and Lu Tsong Kong chose the wrong path, they'll definitely die without us even doing anything. If they're lucky enough to choose the right path, we'll definitely be able to catch up to them if we chase after them. That's right, Song Kong nodded. However, there's a total of 9 palaces. Which one should we choose? Don't you have the apocalyptic fiend painting with you? Take it out and see if there are any clues on it, Lu Tsong said. Enlightened, Song Kong took out the complete apocalyptic fiend painting hurriedly. Song Kong and Lu Tsong focused their gazes. There were indeed some clues left on the fiend painting. Take the 4th palace on the right. Song Kong and Lu Tsong exchanged glances and led the 4 fiend kings of Lingxiao Palace towards the palace gate. Black Heavens and the other fiend kings did not dare to enter recklessly as well. After exchanging glances, they followed behind the fiend kings of Lingxiao Palace and charged in. After Wu Dao's true body and Demoness Ji entered the palace gate, they continued forward. Before long, another grand hall appeared before them. Similarly, there were 9 palaces, and the two of them were faced with a choice once more. After comparing the apocalyptic fiend painting, the two of them quickly made a decision and headed towards the palace gate in the middle. There were no dangers along the way. However, after a while, the two of them arrived at another grand hall that was surrounded by 9 palaces. We can't be taking detours the entire time, right? Demoness Ji frowned slightly. No. Wu Dao's true body replied with a calm expression. There were murals around the 3 palaces earlier on. Every single one of them is different. Alright, let's continue. The two of them followed the instructions on the diagram and entered a palace gate. Every time they arrived at a place, the two of them would make the same choice. On the other side, the demon kings were also experiencing a very similar experience. However, the people on both sides gradually moved further and further away from each other in this huge and complicated palace. They never met each other. Finally, after passing through the 9th palace, Wu Dao's main body arrived at a spacious domed tomb chamber. The tomb was sealed, and there was no other way out. In the middle of the tomb, there was a huge coffin that was half the height of a person. Other than that, there was nothing else. Suddenly, Demoness Ji chuckled when she saw the coffin, and turned to look at Wu Dao's true body with a glint in her eyes. What are you laughing at? Wu Dao's true body asked. I suddenly thought of something. She smiled brightly. Do you remember how I invited you to the inheritance ground of the fiend sex, when we first met in Tianhuang mainland? Wu Dao's true body was in a daze as he recalled the past. Demoness Ji smiled. Back then, we arrived at the depths of the underground and saw a coffin as well. Isn't it similar to this? Wu Dao's true body nodded gently and turned to exchange glances with Demoness Ji. Both of them felt an indescribable feeling rise in their hearts at the same time. In the lower realm, the two of them met for the first time and entered the underground together to see a stone coffin. After ascending to the upper realm, the two of them met for the first time and ran into the depths of the underground to see a coffin. However, at that time, the coffin was wrapped in chains and floated in a blood pool with monk damning sealed within. The blood qi in the surroundings was sinister, and the atmosphere was terrifying. It was completely different from the silence before them. Demoness Ji continued. Back then, a fiend was born from that coffin and went on a killing spree. In the end, the two of us had to hide in the stone coffin to escape the calamity. At that time, the two of them were squeezed in the cramped stone coffin, and it was inevitable for their skin to touch, and they were in a daze. When Demoness Ji mentioned that, Wu Dao's true body recalled the scene as well, but did not reply. Demoness Ji smiled and said half-jokingly, Hey, do you think something will happen here as well? For example, if the World Devastation Fiend Emperor comes back from the dead and climbs out of the coffin. If that's the case, both of us will have to die. Wu Dao's true body interrupted her. The Fiend Emperor can kill us as easily as crushing 2 ants. Demoness Ji stuck out her tongue and stopped her imagination from running wild. At that moment, the two of them had escaped from the pursuit and were relaxed. They were in no hurry to look at the coffin. Demoness Ji glanced at Wu Dao's true body again and suddenly asked, What did you mean by bringing me home? At the mention of that, Wu Dao's true body's heart skipped a beat, and he asked instead, I was just about to ask you. Although Heaven Baron sect is remote, our reputation should have spread to every corner of the fiend domain over the years. Haven't you heard of us in Lingxiao Palace? News of Araki Takashi killing 1,000,000 demons, and the supreme true demon alone, had already spread throughout the heaven realm. Being in Lingxiao Palace, it was impossible for Demoness Ji not to have heard of it. Of course I have, Demoness Ji replied. Wu Dao's true body asked, Then why didn't you come and look for us? Demoness Ji pouted slightly and said helplessly, After I ascended, I was pestered by him, and he insisted on having sex with me. I could only delay him as much as possible. Even if I heard about Heaven Baron sect, I wouldn't dare to look for you. Lingxiao Palace has the Fiend Emperor in charge, and is terrifyingly strong. If I were to look for you guys, I'm worried that I would cause trouble for Heaven Baron sect, and the Fiend Emperor would take his anger out on me. Wu Dao's true body remained silent. This matter was indeed a little troublesome, But it was unavoidable now. Even if he didn't kill Ling Xian just now, this emperor wouldn't have let them go. If they really provoked the Fiend Emperor, he could only use his divine ability with the Thunder Emperor and temporarily move Heaven Baron sect to the Avicii Hell to hide for a period of time. In the Nine Heavens Immortal Realm, the masters of the Nine Heavens Immortal Realms alone were 9 immortal emperors. There were definitely more immortal emperors hiding in the dark in the Nine Heavens Immortal Realm. There were definitely more than 10 of them. The Pure Land was in a similar situation. Of course, there couldn't be only one Fiend Emperor in the Demon Realm. However, the other Fiend Emperors, in order to pursue the Great Tao, either lived in seclusion in the mountains or wandered around. Only Fiend Emperor Ling Xiao established a force like this. The Fiend path was unconventional and stubborn. They sought freedom, freedom, and freedom. They didn't follow etiquette or rules. Establishing a force would allow them to rule over hundreds of millions of territories and have monstrous power. However, they would also be firmly tied down, which was very different from what the Fiend path sought. Whether or not the Fiend Emperor cared about his own forces, the lives of the Fiend Emperors under his command would inevitably increase countless karma. Therefore, most Fiend Emperors roamed the world alone. Chapter 2538. What are you thinking about? You haven't answered my question yet. Demoness Ji nudged Wu Dao's true body gently and urged. Wu Dao's true body snapped back to his senses. The original intention of Tianhuang's sect was to provide a place for those who ascended from the lower world. Since you're from Tianhuang mainland, Tianhuang sect is naturally your home. Tisk. Demoness Ji pouted her lips and could not conceal the disappointment in her eyes. Dissatisfied with that answer, she mumbled, "Home is where family is." After a moment of silence, Wu Dao's true body said, "Yao Yen, you can treat me as family from now on." Demoness Ji's heart skipped a beat. In a flash, she appeared before Su Zimo and tiptoed gently. The two of them faced each other and looked into each other's eyes. Suddenly, she reached out and removed the silver mask on Wu Dao's true body's face. When she saw that calm and familiar face, Demoness Ji did not feel any joy. Instead, she felt uneasy. "Why aren't you dodging?" She frowned. If this was Tianhuang mainland, Su Zimo would have dodged a long time ago upon noticing her intimate actions. Demoness Ji finally noticed the abnormality of Wu Dao's true body, and the indescribable uneasiness in her heart intensified. She seemed to have understood something, but did not dare to think about it. "Why are you suddenly so nice to me?" she asked again. Although Su Zimo treated her well in Tianhuang mainland as well, he would not protect her like he did today. In fact, Su Zimo would not even allow him to call her a slut. Wu Dao's true body was still silent. "What did you call me earlier on?" Demoness Ji's voice was already trembling slightly. Yaoyan, that was her name. However, ever since the two of them met, Su Zimo had always referred to her as a demoness and had never addressed her as such. This form of address seemed intimate, but it also sounded a little distant. The two of them were silent. The tomb chamber was completely silent. She bit her lips and asked slowly after a long time, "S sister is already dead, right?" Demoness Ji cultivated a cultivation technique that specialized in bewitching her opponents and controlling their minds. Naturally, many people's inner thoughts could not be hidden from her. She was smart and quickly thought of one possibility. Su Zimo was acting out of character and treating her so well all of a sudden. That was Yaoshua was already dead. This was more like a kind of guilt, a kind of compensation. Su Zimo would replace Yaoshua's position and continue to protect and take care of her in the future. Su Zimo had just said that she could treat him as family in the future, because Su Zimo had already treated her as his younger sister. Wu Dao's true body did not look into Demoness Ji's eyes as he put on the Emo Luo mask once more, and said in a low voice, "Yaoshua's cultivation was stuck at the Void Reversion realm, and she was unable to break through. Eventually, she exhausted her lifespan." When she heard that news, Demoness Ji was filled with sorrow and tears streamed down her fair face silently. Before long, her clothes were wet. The joy of reuniting with Su Zimo vanished instantly. Part of the reason for her sadness was because she heard that Yaoshua had left. Another part was because she realized that Su Zimo had changed his attitude towards her. Su Zimo would treat her as his younger sister from now on, and their relationship would seem closer. However, it might be even further for her. Actually, Demoness Ji had never thought of getting anything from Su Zimo. Even if Su Zimo were to become Dao companions with her sister, she would give her heartfelt blessings and leave silently. However, she still felt a sense of disappointment when she read Su Zimo's heart. After a long time, she sniffed and rolled her eyes at Wu Dao's true body. Legend has it that when the World Devastator Fiend Emperor was born, his body burned with the flames of war, and his eyes were filled with destruction. The World Devastator Fiend Emperor's pursuit was to conquer the heavens and conquer the worlds. Everywhere he passed, the flames of war would spread and destroy the world. It's said that the two emperor weapons by the World Devastator Fiend Emperor's side were the flames of war and destruction. The flames of war was a spear and the destruction was a gigantic axe. If I'm not wrong, that gigantic axe should be the destruction axe of the World Devastator Fiend Emperor. Conquer the heavens and conquer the worlds. Wu Dao's true body frowned slightly. Is the World Devastator Fiend Emperor that powerful? He's extremely strong and he's extremely ferocious, Demoness Ji said. Back then, he had already occupied the entire heaven realm. The abyss between the 9 firmament immortal domain and the fiend domain was split open by his destruction axe. Wu Dao's true body was secretly speechless. It was indeed terrifying to split the entire heaven realm into 2. Even Emperor Lord Bo Sun might not have been able to do it back then when he was at his peak. However, even such a ruthless person could not escape death before he became an emperor.